Hello. Check, check.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, coach. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Varun? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Was eagerly waiting for the part two because like the first one was kind of went with the flow, and I did not even ask a single question that I was, uh, you know, getting myself ready to ask you. So I have like a bunch of questions, which is very jiu-jitsu and MMA specific. So I need somebody like you to like uh, talk about that. So let's jump in directly because like all the intro and all the stuff has been done in the first podcast. So if people want to know what it is all about, they have to go and watch it back. So now the question is like when it comes to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, what is the difference between Japanese and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and what exactly was the innovations that Gracie made? Because I just want to know that like technically what was there initially and what was the like modification made by Gracie. If you can elaborate, that would be great.
Okay. To my knowledge, to the best of my ability, with what I know, um, jiu-jitsu sucked, and then the Gracies came and made it better. So, um, here's the thing. For the most part, judo kind of has dominated. So jiu-jitsu kind of you have the way I see it, it's like evolution. You have an animal, and the animal is a jujitsu animal originally, and this jujitsu animal then you get a child that is judo, right? And at that same time, they're cousins, so they split. Everybody knows this. But what ends up happening is judo, because it's isolated, all these things are isolated to do their own thing. I guess you should say Brazilian Jiu Jitsu was isolated to do its own thing in Brazil, and Judo kind of took over. So because Jigoro Kano and the Judo system was the more dominant form, um, Jiu Jitsu kind of died. It kind of turned into some type of uh, bullshit martial art. It just got watered down, and especially coming to America. I mean, I'm not saying that every single form is watered down. It's much like karate. In the United States,
Exactly.
Taekwondo and karate has been watered down, and so Japanese style jiu-jitsu schools, they were just like non-competitive judo schools.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way I could explain what a Japanese jiu-jitsu school was like.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm gonna offend someone from Japanese jiu-jitsu, but it's like I said, I started out by saying to the best of my knowledge, the best of my ability, from what I can tell, I don't know of any legit Japanese jiu-jitsu schools, truly legitimate. Now I'm sure they must have been out there, but the Japanese jiu-jitsu schools that were legitimate in the 90s and before, I would bet that they were more or less like a judo school that might have been a little bit more well-rounded when it came to doing groundwork, because the judo schools dominated the standing, and they tend, because of the sport of judo being stood up very quickly, um, the judo guys tended to be lopsided. They were really good at takedowns, not so good at ground at submissions, because which makes sense. I
Hmm.
mean, when you only spend 10 to 15 seconds down there,
Down, yeah.
unless you're really, really working. Plus, you have pins. Again, I have a real, opinion against pinning. I don't, when you in judo, pinning ends the match, so
Yeah.
it basically reduces your submission fighting skill.
But it also
Um,
has submissions, right? In judo, you have arm bars, I
right,
think.
arm bars and chokes,
Uh-huh.
but that if because in judo you have four ways to win. You can win by the throw.
Throw.
You can win by a choke.
Sure.
You can win by an arm bar. Or you can win by a pin.
Pin.
So throwing to the back is an ippon. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
So that and less groundwork. and then the match gets stood up every 10 to 15 seconds. It really depends on how hard you work.
Mm-hmm.
And, so if a guy's really working on top and he's got a pin going or a submission going, the referee will let the fight keep going. But, you know, if you're going to get stood up every 10 to 15 seconds, you've reduced your submission fighting or submission skills.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add a pin
Mm-hmm.
that if you pass the guard and you control a pin for either 30 seconds or 25 seconds or whatever that length of time is, it's changed in the sport. It's ends the fight. So you don't need to be that good at submissions. And a lot of judo guys would just turn their backs and
Give
hide.
up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and just all you have to do is it's a lot like freestyle and Greco.
Mm.
In wrestling, it's the same thing. You just defend, and then the referee will stand you up.
Stand you up.
So in some ways, it makes them better because
Mm-hmm.
they have to get submission quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So judo guys have like they're very impatient when they get on the ground. They have to go, which makes it good in some sense,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also a big negative because you don't have time to work.
Mm-hmm.
And in real fights, as seen in the UFC, why did the jiu-jitsu guys do better than the judo guys? I mean, the judo guys did well. They had guys. Old fights. Renzo Gracie versus Ben Spikers is a very old fight you can watch.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Spikers may have the advantage with the takedowns
Mm-hmm.
over Renzo, but they're not wearing a gi.
Yeah.
Well, Ben Spikers was, to my memory. I don't think Renzo wasn't wearing a gi.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe he took Renzo down, but eventually Renzo got the upper hand. It's hard to remember exactly how Renzo took him down.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been more of a wrestling style takedown.
Mm-hmm.
And once he got on top of the judo guy, he didn't know how to fight.
Yeah.
He knew how to hold on.
Exactly.
And then he turns his back and he gets pounded when he gets his back taken with elbows to the back of the head. And then it was also a fight where Renzo stepped on his head when he was unconscious.
Oh.
If you haven't seen that fight, I don't know if you've seen that fight.
I think it's one of the Vale Tudo matches in Brazil.
I don't think it was in Brazil. Again, this is hard. My memory. I haven't watched these fights since the 90s.
90s.
So I want to say World Combat Championship or something like that, or Reality Super Fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Reality Super Fighting or World Combat Championship. Those are my two best guesses.
I'll keep that in mind. Renzo Gracie versus Ben Spikers.
Yeah, it's one of those, and I think the fight was done in America, but I don't. You know what? I can't remember.
That's
but I watched it when it came out at the time when it came out.
But you have it in your memory.
Yeah, I just have a memory of Renzo stepping on his head. He was very pissed. Renzo, a lot of Brazilians were hotheads back then. Also,
even now.
I think the story goes. Ben Spikers said something about Renzo's family or something.
Oh, okay.
So maybe he took it personal, and whatever. But the point, I know it's just one fight, but it was an example of a contrast of high level. Ben Spikers was a really good judo guy, so you get to see true old school judo, base judo versus base jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu.
And the reality is the Brazilian.
You mean Gracie Jiu-Jitsu?
Right. When I would back then, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the same. There wasn't much difference.
Yeah.
Obviously nowadays there's a divergence because the sport has
evolved like anything.
It's moved further and further away. But for all intents and purposes, old school Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is almost you can't even tell the difference between it and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu because everyone learned from the Gracies, other than if people want to get into the lineage of it's escaping my mind, but the other name of the family from Brazil that also.
I know Oswaldo Fada.
Yes, exactly, Fada.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu was kind of a watered down McJojo sort of judo, and I'm sure some were more legit than others, but for the most part, it was either more like judo, or if it was far from judo, it was so docile. It was a chihuahua. So the wolf became a chihuahua, and now he can't fight.
Yeah,
So,
right.
and I think that the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys were the closest thing to wolves, or you could say pit bulls,
Yes.
and trained dogs. They were
Mm-hmm.
trained for fighting.
Mm.
That's a great example. There you go. So you have the wolf that is trained for survival.
Mm.
That's self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu almost evolved it into being an attack dog.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, a dog trained for fighting like a pit bull.
Yeah.
And
Attacking.
people can argue over wolves and pit bulls, which one's tougher. But in my opinion, a trained, uh, ev- uh, um,
Pitbull.
naturally selected pit bull or a naturally selected dog that is trained for fighting is going to be better for fighting than a wolf. A wolf is trained for survival
Mm.
through nature,
Mm.
and they will do what is best to survive. A pit bull is trained to fight, and that's something that I think what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu did. Now, did they make the perfect animal for fighting? No. Obviously, that's what UFC has done.
Mm-hmm.
At least we're using the rules. Now, if you go back to old days, no time limit, no
Yeah.
gloves,
Yeah.
no stand-ups, that would evolve. If we were to run that experiment, we
Mm-hmm.
would truly find
The
the
best
best
martial art.
adapted martial art.
But
Yes,
but one question, coach, like from what you said, now mixed martial arts has evolved, which means like we are making a blend of the effective techniques from each and every martial art, including jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and we have blended them together and made this mixed martial art. So now it is very hard for a pure jiu-jitsu guy to face a complete mixed martial artist. I agree with that. But if you talk about like pure martial arts, just pure kickboxing, pure karate, pure jiu-jitsu, by which I mean the street fighting Gracie jiu-jitsu, which martial art do you think is the best? If you go back to the 1993, where it's not it blended and everything is like like pure karate, pure Muay Thai, and which one do you think? Because Horace Gracie has clearly proved that
100%. Yeah, I have to give it to the Gracies.
Gracie's.
There's no, by far, it's not even close. It's not even close. So the Brazilians showed they were far better. Um, they won too many fights in a row
Yes.
without losing for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, Smaller men beating bigger men
Yeah.
multiple times. The only time that the jiu-jitsu guys lost, really, when they really lost, was when people started
Start
to
figuring out.
get wise to their skills.
Yeah.
Now,
The second
so
fight with Ken Shamrock was an
yeah,
example.
so, and I don't even think that Ken was that good at submission
Yes, he
personally,
is not.
but like I never thought he ever attained the. I By the way, I was a big Ken Shamrock fan because as a wrestler, I wanted to believe in him,
Mm-hmm.
and I did believe in him back then.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get better,
Mm-hmm.
and once I got better, I looked back with my eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and then I saw the mistakes and the holes in his style.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't see it back then. So
Mm-hmm.
back then I cheered him on and I wanted him to beat the Gracies, by the way. So
Mm-hmm.
I was actually not a fan of the Gracies. But it's when I became wiser and I look back, I can clearly see who's better. And at the time. Now you do have other people come to mind through the Lions Den. Jerry Bolander came along, beat Fabio Gurgel.
Fabio Jurgel.
Uh, right? You started to have guys like Don Fry
Mm-hmm.
uh, beat up Amari Bitech,
Yeah.
and so you had these fights where wrestlers started to come through and defend the takedown and maybe have some good boxing, and then again it was quickly evolving. Then you had the Marco Huas. People can say luta libre all you want, but
Yeah.
they still knew jiu-jitsu
Jiu-jitsu.
and then added in kickboxing, which was the evolution, right?
Yeah.
So but it's like it depends on what point okay, back then, early 90s,
Mm-hmm.
early to mid 90s, was there a martial art that had the wrestling skill combined with the submissions?
Mm.
Now some people will say sambo. Personally, I think it's not true. They'll say catch wrestling. Here's the thing. Sambo existed. 100% it existed.
Yeah.
But again, they were much more sportive. So combat sambo, as people see like Habib
Babe.
Nurmagomedov, and they see Fedor.
Yeah.
Um, you didn't. I could be wrong on this,
Okay.
but those guys weren't around. And remember, the bait was being dangled. The championships were there. The few sambo guys that I ever saw during that time would not have beaten the best
That
Brazilians and
is
the best.
true. That is true. But if you talk about sambo, we are talking about just the best representatives, right? Because I cannot bring a shitty sambo guy and say, oh, sambo is no
True.
good. But when it comes to people like Fedor, Habib, and this latest killer, this guy Kamset, oh shit,
So
he was
many of them. Yeah, yeah.
scary as hell, and Islam Makachev and all those guys from Dagestan. When you put them against jiu-jitsu guys, even like well-experienced guys like Rafael dos Anjos. Rafael dos Anjos was looking like as he barely could retain guard. That's it. That's all he could do. So he was a
Yeah,
black belt in jiu-jitsu. He was like a third-degree black belt or something. But
yeah,
Habib was like having a way with him. So what do
yeah.
you think is lacking in pure jiu-jitsu? Um, uh, I mean, that is present in sambo
The sambo
on the
guys,
ground.
sambo for the most part is wrestling.
Hmm.
It's a form of wrestling.
Hmm.
So I know people like to argue over the distinction between, like, is Habib, should he be counted as a wrestler
Hmm.
or not? Like,
Hmm.
some people just want to, but in my opinion,
Hmm.
sambo is wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like wrestling with a little bit of judo,
Hmm.
and but there are no leg locks in judo.
Hmm.
So it has some leg locks. And again, people then will cite that he does combat sambo. But again, this is a relatively new martial art, which is like MMA.
Hmm.
And and
I
this
think
is
they
this is
have
what
groin strikes and everything.
right. So this is what I was getting at. Like, it's like anybody now can make up their own martial art and just
Yeah.
say, we do no rules fighting and we will make the best fighters. It's true.
Yeah.
If in other words, the sport will help you improve your fighting style. I mean, like, that's one reason why Muay Thai was a little bit more geared better towards real fighting
Hmm.
than
Karate.
traditional American style kickboxing when they
Okay.
only kicked above the waist.
Yes.
Um, when they only kicked above the waist, they had great kicking skills above the waist, but
Hmm.
they had a glaring weakness when
Yeah.
it came to kicking the legs, kneeing, elbowing, clinching, throwing.
Real fighting
So
tools. Yeah.
right, so the rules of Muay Thai make it better, but you could just really easily make a better martial art and just say
Yeah.
now it's Muay Thai combined with wrestling
Hmm.
and submissions. Now it's MMA or whatever. And if you wanted to make it, go back to Pride rules,
Yeah.
I think, well, Pride rules
Just like
didn't
how
have
there was
elbows.
this Shoto or something like that.
Right.
Hmm.
But there was times where, like, Pride didn't have elbows. So they had the
Yeah.
soccer kits
Soccer kick
and knees
stomps.
to the head.
Hmm.
So you had the head strikes with your legs
Yeah.
on the ground,
Yeah.
which made it more real
Yeah.
because the UFC, you're protected. Head butting is now taken out. There's so many rules in MMA. A lot of people don't even realize how many
Yeah.
prohibitions there are.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of things are prohibited.
Yeah.
So it's a sport, but it does weaken our overall fighting
Yeah.
skill. And
For real
that's what's
life.
happened. So in answer to your question, that's what's happened to jiu-jitsu.
Hmm.
Um, the original jiu-jitsu was much more geared towards a fight.
Yes.
Although it was old, so keep in mind at the time in the 90s, there wasn't much out there, but it was pretty easy to just say, let's take a character, a wrestler, a really good wrestler, and let's teach him jujitsu. And you've already created this guy who's a better fighter and teach him kickboxing, and he can beat all the Gracies.
Hmm.
A Frank Shamrock,
Hmm.
you know, and even Frank Shamrock, just an incredible athlete. He's one of the guys, you know what? He deserves a lot of credit, one of the pioneers. Because even though Ken Shamrock was there earlier, Frank Shamrock was one of the first that really blended the three things: the wrestling, the submission, and the striking.
Was he the
Although he,
guy who fought like Bas Rutten in Pancrase?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Hmm.
And I think Boss is also one of those guys,
Yeah.
but I think him as well. But I gotta admit, I really liked Frank Shamrock's style back then. I mean, he was so ahead of his time. There was a time when he was by far the best fighter,
Okay.
and I don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves. There was a time Frank Shamrock was the best. I mean, truly the best at the time. Anyway, um, so but what I'm saying is they take they just it's easy now. You just take all the best of this and you combine it. You have a great athlete and you just make it. But at that
Mhm.
time, it truly was a style versus style thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the secrets were much more hidden.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sambo had submissions, but they did not have the ground game. And
Yeah.
then you got the Kosten judo guys who claim that they already had ground and that BJJ stands for basically just judo,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that they already had it.
Yeah.
But if they did, if it's true that those guys on the ground in judo could stack up with the Brazilian guys in a fight, I don't think they could. I think that the Brazilians were onto something. Whatever it was, call it their third world country, not giving a shit, like their attitudes, their mentality of let's get in a fight and see what works.
Hmm.
They were really doing it, and
Yeah.
I just think they were ahead of their time for
and
for a
and also
time.
technical and also technical it was a
Yeah,
science when Helio Gracie created a because I being a small guy when I'm able to have a way with like bigger guys who have no idea about jiu-jitsu. I feel like a superhero. They're like, dude, I
yes,
feel totally
yes,
helpless. And I'm so thankful to Helio Gracie because how scientific it was. If you're just a knucklehead and you all you do is just fighting, you could not have invented a martial art which is so technical and so leverage based. You know what I mean? So I
yes,
think it's the philosophy and the technique and the mechanics of jiu-jitsu that makes it so better because even even Ken Shamrock knew submissions. He was submitting some fools who didn't even know that
yeah,
it's a shitty submission and they were tapping to it. But when Horace Gracie was submitting people, it was legit. They did not have an
yeah.
idea of what was going on because it
And
was
the
not a
reality,
normal way that the human body moves, like the triangle choke. Dan Seven did not know what was going on.
no, but this is a good example. You brought that up. Ken Shamrock was a submission expert,
Yes,
so-called.
yes,
When he came into the UFC, he was a so-called submission expert.
yeah,
He was not an expert.
yeah,
He was an expert when you put him in a room with everyone else,
yeah,
but not with the Gracies. When it came to the Gracies, the way he sat back for the footlock
hmm,
showed that he had no real
yeah,
understanding.
yeah. And how
The
it
way
just came
that
on the top. Yeah.
him not understanding when he turtled going for a single leg with a high crotch position on the
Mm-hmm.
leg
Mm,
and not understanding that he can get rear naked choked,
mm,
he was basically like a lot of judo guys
yeah,
back then.
yeah.
They're really good at takedowns. He knew how to get to the top position with an average guy.
Mm-hmm.
I would stack him up against 99% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is Hoist Gracie had the technique for
Mm-hmm.
a fight
Mm-hmm.
that he could beat a bigger, stronger opponent. At that time, the jiu-jitsu guys were probably the only martial art at the time
Mm.
that demonstrated that a smaller man could beat a bigger man no matter the style,
Yes.
no matter the style, opposing style. If you took a wrestler at the time and he fought uh, let's say a bigger type of wrestler, let's say Ken Shamrock fought a sumo wrestler, it would have been very interesting to find out how that would go because Ken Shamrock probably wouldn't be able to uh, survive on the bottom of a really big, heavy sumo wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would have to knock him out with a punch, like a Keith Hackney type of thing.
Yeah.
But would he have the skill to do what Keith Hackney did? Now, there's a little, tipping the hat to karate, right? With
Mm-hmm.
Keith Hackney,
Mm-hmm.
being able to throw a strike, or a kickboxer being able to throw a strike against a sumo wrestler.
Humor wrestler.
but that's the thing is, I think what the Gracie showed and Jiu-Jitsu showed, they were they could adapt to the most amount of possibilities. You know, you had Gerard Gordeau destroy Taylor Tully
Yeah.
in the first UFC,
But he couldn't do anything with Hoist.
could do nothing with
With
Hoist.
Hoist. Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
He did, like, it's ridiculously simple fight,
Yeah.
you know. And then, but if you had like I said, a just imagine a wrestler the size of Hoist Gracie or the size of Gerard Gordeau
Mm-hmm.
fighting Taylor Tully. A wrestler may not be able to beat Taylor Tully
Yeah.
because Taylor Tully's size, he might be able to out wrestle a wrestler because a sumo wrestler is a wrestler.
Yeah.
He's
Exactly.
just a really big one.
Yeah.
And if he can get on top and then throw big punches,
Yeah.
a wrestler with the wrestling skills wouldn't be able to defend himself.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have the skills,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting. Now, a lot of people go, well, what would Hoist Gracie have done to Taylor Tully? Well, we all know Hoist Gracie was able to fight, was it Akebono? An
Akebono.
even bigger, an even
Omoplata.
bigger
Yeah.
wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, they proved their martial art.
Yeah.
I have to give it. I sound like a total Gracie nut hugger, but you know what?
You're right.
They proved it.
Yeah. But one
What
question.
am I gonna say?
Mhm. But one
That's what.
question. Yeah. I understand. But one question is, from the same Akebono example, Akebono and all those other guys were foolish to succumb to Hoist's game, and they went to the ground with him. Hoist did not pull guard, nor did he take Akebono down. He just fell down, and Akebono just followed him. If that wasn't the case, and Akebono was smart enough to not get to the ground and try to like beat Hoist or like hug him and totally put his weight on him, like to crush him
Yeah,
before even he got his guard back, I don't know how it would have gone. Because even in the case of Dan Severn, if Dan was smart enough to not take Hoist down and beat him with
right.
strikes, Hoist Gracie would not have been able to pull guard because he's
Of
so big.
course.
He would have just carried Hoist like a child. Or he could not have taken Dan Severn down, and it would have just been a striking match. So I think it is partially due to the, I wouldn't say the foolishness, but the ignorance of the wrestlers. They thought the only avenue of victory for them is just to take the other guy
100%.
down and beat him up, and that is where they made a mistake. if
Right.
if Dan Seven, even if the same Dan Seven that did not know anything about jiu-jitsu was smart enough to not take Hoist down and keep the fight on the feet, maybe it would have been a different one, completely different one. What do you think
100%.
about that?
I think that's 100% correct. But that's also the luxury that we have after the fact. The
Yeah.
whole point is they didn't have the understanding in their skills
Yeah.
and the development in their martial art.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously, like, just take well, I was gonna go back to Ben Spikers, but and Renzo Gracie, they were roughly close to the same size. Um, you think about it, if Ben Spikers wanted to avoid Renzo's takedown, he's probably good enough to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
But a judo man does what a judo man does,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets in the clinch. That's what he wants. And guess what? Had he done that with Renzo,
Mm-hmm.
Renzo would have just outstruck him more. Because
Yeah.
Renzo, again,
Mm-hmm.
the Gracie's Hoist was probably the worst athlete of them all.
Yes, that's why
Athletic.
they chose to put him, because he would be the
Right.
best representation of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but even Hoist could throw some strikes. I'm
Yeah.
not saying he was skilled
Best, yeah.
at them,
Yeah.
but he was a fighter. He at least would go out there and try to hit you.
Yeah.
You know, he's not totally,
Grappling.
you know, helpless on his feet with strikes. I'm not
Yes.
saying he could beat kickboxers, but what I'm saying, he would force grappling.
Mhm.
And again, if Akebono, do you think Akebono had a training camp before
No
that
way.
fight?
No way.
Well, of course he did, to some degree,
I
right?
mean, they were just doing the same sumo or something like that. They did not have a smart training camp like how you have for the UFC
Right,
now.
nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But remember, you've got this sumo wrestler. He's going to fight. I mean, come on, 2 weeks, 1 month? He had to have spent some time training for this fight. So he had to have. I mean, it was most likely 2 months, 3 months. but let's just say it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks' time, don't you think somebody said to him, hey, look, this guy's a little guy. If you get on the ground, he's going to try to submit you. Of course, that was told to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
His training in sumo wrestling, he
Did not.
can't stop his nature. It's his nature.
To
So
take. Yeah.
it requires more. I'm not saying you can't beat Hoist. I'm just saying
Hmm.
they had their chance. They didn't do it.
Hmm.
But that's like, again, if Conor McGregor stayed on his feet with Nurmagomedov, he
Hmm.
could have knocked out Nurmagomedov. Yeah. Well, guess what? His training camp wasn't good enough to stay on his feet.
Yeah.
So guess what? You lose. You get taken down multiple times. You drown,
Yeah.
and you get choked out.
Yeah.
So
And guys, if you're watching this, watch Coach Brian's breakdown of what Conor McGregor should have done in Teach Me Grappling. That is a dope one.
that was, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me admit something though, because I'm starting to get these comments on my channel. Is people want to know about real self defense, and people want to know, uh, what's realistic about in a real fight.
Yeah.
And let me just say this about my channel.
Mhm.
My channel is a very broad channel,
Make sure.
all of grappling. It could be for wrestling. It could be for jujitsu, sport. It could be for MMA. It could be for self-defense. But there is a lot of the things I show, which I admit, they're not for the street.
Yeah.
I mean, they can help you on the street. It's possible,
Hmm.
but it's not ideal. And so I've been talking with a few of my students about it, and I'm going to try to get some self-defense minded stuff because I'm not crazy. I recognize it. And I mention it on my videos all the time. I'll say, this is sportive. I will put my forehead on the mat in a street fight. I'm not going to put my forehead on concrete,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So I just want to state that because, and then, so going back to that video, what Conor McGregor should have done, of course, I know that Habib's got some great skills and he might be able to counter it, but, um, I was trying to show, um,
The possibilities.
the possibilities of a high level grappler,
Yeah.
what he could have done.
Could have.
Again, the sad part is Habib's gotten better and better and better. So being able to beat him using the types of things, in other words, Habib's weak, even though he's undefeated, he was not always as good as he is right now.
Yes. We saw the
You know,
fight with Gleason Tebow. He sucked.
he's gotten better.
Yeah.
He's gotten so much better.
Yes.
And so a lot of people who love Habib that follow him, they think he was always amazing.
Yeah.
And that everyone just needed to find it out. But they don't know that when he came to America and he started training at AKA, I guarantee you they've been teaching him a lot of shit. And it's not just kickboxing. So they taught him a lot of groundwork.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And speaking of which, because when he came to the United States, he was training at, I don't know the gym's name. It was somewhere in the New Jersey. That's where
okay.
he was training first, and that's when he fought Kamal Shalarus,
Mhm.
Pat Healy, and this guy, I think Gleason Tipa from that gym. And
Mhm.
I think maybe that's when he realized that his striking was not good enough for MMA. And there is a
Yeah.
video in which Daniel Cormier, he's teaching him some MMA stuff. He's saying, this is not Sambo. You cannot do this. He had to make him sit down and then ground and pound him like that. So he was
Yeah.
teaching MMA oriented stuff. And what you
Yeah.
said was extremely right. It wasn't the Russian Sambo anymore. So he had to adapt his game because there
Yeah.
is a video where, I don't know the guy's name. He is not that famous. And he breaks down how poor Habib's MMA techniques were in his first fight with Kamal Shalarus, where he was
Yeah.
throwing the uppercuts from without even setting them up. So you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. He's gotten a lot better. And like I said, whatever weakness that could be exposed on Khabib back when he fought Connor, those weaknesses now, like the openings are like, it's so much smaller now. It's like it's going to be hard to find the holes. I still think the best way to beat him is with striking.
It's striking.
I think back then, I think it was possible to take advantage of him with submissions, but I think that's now gone. I don't think I don't believe that anymore. I used to see a lot of weaknesses
Mm-hmm.
in his ground game, but not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because before I saw him as a wrestler, Sambo, whatever. Uh, to me, I view it as the same. I saw him as a wrestler that knew some submissions
Mm-hmm.
and had some basic understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But now I think he's his defense is so good.
So,
His awareness of when you watch what he did with Poirier, um, I think that he can still get tapped, but it's like I said, the openings are small.
yeah.
I think it's very small. It's very hard to beat him there. I
Yeah.
think it's the best way to beat him is just not stay in the center and don't get pushed against the fence. Be a guy like him and be better than him at striking, which is still very possible. I mean, he's good, but he's by far not unbeatable. So
Yeah.
on his feet. And I'm saying this about the best in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I keep in mind, I'm not saying anybody could beat him.
Yeah.
I'm saying
I
he's
understand.
not
I understand.
unbeatable.
Yeah,
So
that's why I ask questions to people like you, because you give an unbiased, just a scientific picture of what's happening, what's possible,
yeah,
what are the openings, what are the things that future fighters can, capitalize and all the stuff. So I can understand what you say. And speaking of which, what do you think about his fight against Al Iaquinta? Because he showed a lot of tendencies in the third and fourth rounds, and I think Al Iaquinta was very reluctant to pull the trigger because he was so like starstruck, maybe because it
yeah,
was Habib, and he did not want to like
yeah.
go like with reckless abandon like how he did against Kevin Lee. So do you think that is something that in the future fighters can take notes from, like
Yeah, I think so. The thing about Al is Al's a pretty good wrestler, but he wasn't good enough to out wrestle Habib. And so I think, like you were saying, like I think that he was really surprised
mm-hmm,
at. I truly believe this. I'm not saying that Habib's not a good wrestler.
mm-hmm.
He's a very good wrestler, okay? But Habib's strength, I'm literally talking about a physical
Grappling
thing.
strength, yeah,
His grappling strength is very high level.
yeah.
And one thing I'll point to, I've mentioned it before, I think on one of my videos. There is a point when he fought Poirier where he got in the over under with Poirier.
And the
And I'm
switch.
not saying Poirier is the greatest like wrestler. He's not,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
he's still a high level MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And he's no joke. I mean, he's good. But if you watch the power that Habib has put into his when he gets a clinch and he shoves people into the fence, he will get an underhook and run people right into the fence.
Mm-hmm,
And it's a power thing.
mm-hmm.
So in other words, he has the highest level, let's call it the highest level in a power sense, strength level.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something most people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to have that. So who has that? Olympic caliber athletes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is like it's kind of like a power thing that helped me out. Cuban guy, I
Yo,
don't know why.
Romero.
Yo Romero, like the power that this guy possesses.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
Daniel
Habib had.
Cormier.
Yeah, Daniel Cormier. They have. It's a level that few people understand.
Mm-hmm.
So technique wise, I think that Al is a very good wrestler. But when he feels that
The
level
physicality.
of physicality that Habib was bringing,
Mm-hmm.
it again going after the single legs, the finishing of the single legs, the clinches. But Al could still scramble. He's good enough to scramble out
And get
and
back
get
up.
back up immediately.
Mm.
So that showed that he had the wrestling to get back up against Habib and not get finished,
Mm.
like few others have been able to show.
Mm.
Connor, Poirier, and then name a whole bunch of other guys, right?
Yeah.
They they couldn't they couldn't get away,
Mm-hmm.
and they eventually get finished.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I think the guys like when you mention if you mention Gaethje, these other great wrestlers, I think that to avoid Habib's takedowns, they've got to avoid the fence.
Fans, they had to stay
And
in the
so
center. Yeah.
yeah, they've got to stay in the center and not be afraid to stay in the center and bring the fight to him. I I I never thought that Ferguson was going to be a good matchup. People kept asking me about that. I think now that Gaethje, and Ferguson, it was so lopsided. Um, you know, I really didn't. I mean, I'm sure you can go back. Like, if people think I'm just making that up, long before Ferguson lost to Gaethje, I never liked the Ferguson Habib fight for Ferguson. I never thought that he was that good off of his back. And I do think that Habib would have Habib'd him. So I do think that. But I think that Ferguson stood a chance at scrambling, but he's not the guy. But Gaethje is that type of guy that won't be afraid of Habib
Hmm.
and might be able to stay more in the center. And I do think that Gaethje's striking is better than Habib's.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
I don't think it's
obviously.
that much better, but I think it is better.
The
And
power.
I do think, yeah, I think that we could see a lopsided fight in that fight. I think it's possible, very possible, that Gaethje could just make Habib look bad.
Hmm.
But I'm not saying I would pick him.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that. I'm
But
just
there's a
saying
possibility.
I would not be surprised
Yeah, you
if
won't be
all of a
surprised.
sudden you finally see a fight where, again, in the history, look, guy's undefeated. If he fights long enough, he's going to lose.
Hmm.
Simple as that. Nobody stays undefeated forever if
Hmm.
they keep fighting the best in the world. At one point, everybody viewed
The body gives. Yeah, exactly.
Anderson Silva was unbeatable. John Jones was
Hmm.
unbeatable.
Hmm.
And
And he still
and
still is, right?
right, but once Gustafson, fought him, and a lot of people feel like Gustafson beat
Beat
John
him.
Jones.
Yeah.
People started to go, "Oh, this is
What
possible,"
do
and
you
then
think?
again,
Did he
I
beat him?
don't know. I don't like to.
Go on.
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know. It's a close fight. I don't really care. Close fight, but it quickly went from John Jones is unbeatable to, oh, he's
It's
human.
close. Yeah, he's human.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the guy that he just fought. That John Jones had the close fight where arguably the guy won the first 3 rounds,
Yeah. One
and
second.
I'm forgetting. It just happened. It's one very recent.
I know
Last 6
whom you're talking
months.
about. I know.
I don't know why
Why I
I
keep Dominic Reyes.
Dominic Reyes.
Yeah.
So a lot of people feel that Dominic won the
But
fight
don't
on the
you don't you
scorecard.
think the fight with Thiago Santos was much closer? Thiago Santos was like beating him up, and John Jones did not do anything apart from the what do you call that, the oblique kick and all this stuff, but he still
Yeah,
got the victory. I think
yeah,
Thiago Santos was more damaging and more dominating, and he did that with a broken, with a torn LCL, ACL, and whatever CL is there. I mean, like,
yeah.
yeah,
But
he
I
did that
I
with one
I
leg.
do think I didn't mind John Jones as the winner of those fights though, because I'm a big fan, kind of the Pride days
Mm-hmm.
of I. Now again, if you go by strict MMA rules judging, I think it's possible to have Dominic Reyes or those
Thiago,
guys
yeah.
winning the fight, but I think overall, I think Jones won that fight because he finished stronger, and had the fight gone on, I think he would have won. But
So if it was in
um,
no time, and if you extrapolated the match, you see Jones
yeah,
winning.
yeah, but again, but that's
Possible.
also not the rules of MMA.
Yeah.
That's not what the judging
In the
rules are.
game, it's different. In real fighting, you think Jones won.
Right. I think so. But, you know, again, the whatever.
So my next question is, when it comes to special athletes like John Jones, John Jones is not an Olympic wrestler. He wasn't even an NCAA wrestler, but he was like a JUCO, I mean,
Yeah.
something like that.
Eco national champ.
JUCO national
In
champion,
college.
and he just took MMA classes for I think 9 months before his debut against Andre Guzmao. And Andre Guzmao is like a third degree or second degree black belt under Renzo Gracie, and he just beat him. So is that something, a white belt beating a black belt with just 9 months of training? So doesn't that defy logic or something like that. So what do you think is the best explanation that you would give for special athletes like him beating really good veterans like black
All
belt
right.
level guys?
Let's agree on something.
Hmm.
John Jones, elite level athlete. Can we
Hmm.
agree?
Yes,
I
yes.
would I would say so.
Yeah,
Elite.
absolutely. Yeah.
The guy has been able to adapt to just about anything.
Hmm.
So whether it means learning jujitsu technique
Hmm.
or learning kickboxing,
Hmm.
he adapted
Hmm.
like few in history,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
He adapted to learning skills. So elite level athlete. So right off the bat, and now junior college national champ. A lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people put too much weight on in America Division 1 wrestler.
Hmm.
He's a Division 1 caliber wrestler, or he's a Division 1 All American. The difference between the guy who wins the national title, like a Josh Koscheck or a Ben Askren
Hmm.
or any number of other. We've had more, and I'm just blanking on it. Danny
Yeah.
Cormier was second, to Cale Sanderson.
Kale Sanderson.
Uh, so we've had a lot more. I'm just
Hmm.
blanking on it.
Yeah.
There's probably many I'll come up with if we keep thinking.
Like Chris Weidman.
Yeah, so you've got like national champ, and then you've got like guys that are all Americans,
Hmm.
okay, that place sixth at the NC2As. It's really not any different. It's really not.
Okay.
The level of technique sometimes is different, sometimes, but a lot of times the difference between number 1 and number 5 is who had a great day, who came to wrestle that day. I'm not saying always,
Yeah.
because sometimes we have dominant wrestlers. Like right now in NC2A wrestling, we have a guy like Spencer Lee. So
Uh-huh.
Spencer Lee is truly better than just about everybody out there.
Hmm.
And um, but when you some of these weight classes, if you just take away the number 1 guy, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, either any of those guys could beat each other on any
Yeah.
given day.
Yeah.
It's really and then you've got guys even that are ranked 16th in the country
Hmm.
that could be top 5 in the country
Hmm.
if they show up to the NC2As and have a great tournament.
Hmm.
And so it's really preparation, mind, and just getting after it. And so now junior college, Division 2 wrestlers, NAIA, all these different conferences for college wrestling. Dude, these guys are good.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, again, if you're a junior college national champ,
Hmm.
dude, you're no joke. You're
Yes.
still a
Yeah.
great wrestler. That you should be a Division 1 wrestler. It's kind of like, you know what it's like? It's like brown belt world champion. Brown belt world
Uh-huh.
champion. Oh, but he's not a black belt.
Black
Bullshit.
belt
If
level.
you're a
Yeah.
brown belt world champion,
Could
you
beat
will
some black belt.
submit 90% of black belts
Yeah.
if you're the brown belt world champion.
Yeah.
So you belong in that
You
field.
belong there. Yeah.
Yeah, at Abu Dhabi. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you got guys, Nicky Rodriguez right now,
Hmm.
like, oh, a blue belt made the finals.
Hmm.
So anyway, it's so high level athlete. You take a wrestler that's already a big part of it. Now it's all we're talking about modern day MMA learning. So you're taking the best of what we know, and we're now spoon feeding the matrix, right? He's downloading the best information from coaches, and he's adapting as quick as he can. And he happened to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
If you take another junior college national champ, he wouldn't have won.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But you happen to pick John Jones.
Hmm.
This is after the fact. We can look back now and go, look, you just happen to choose the best guy in the world.
Yeah.
Look what he became. He destroyed Machida, Shogun, all these great fighters.
Yeah.
No problem, and just beat these guys. Made them look terrible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's kind of cheating.
Yeah.
You have to run the experiment with 10 junior college national champs, and
I don't
I
think.
doubt you will. I doubt you will be able to come up with more than one John Jones. There's
Yeah.
only one John Jones.
That's why I was asking about not wrestlers but about special athletes, because I don't think any other wrestler of the same caliber would have been able to do what John Jones has done. I
Yeah,
think he's a
absolutely.
special athlete.
Very special. You know what? He adapted. If you watch his wrestling, he did better than every wrestler in history because he was a wrestler that had a broad game. He could hit you with many different takedowns. Josh Koscheck was an overhand right with a double leg.
Mm-hmm.
Change to a single leg, take you down. Push you against the fence, double leg, single leg. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
He was not a wrestler that could adapt to a fight and throw you with a double overhook, lateral drop, kind of like salto suplex. Next thing you know, he's doing inside trips. Next thing you know, he's going to hit you with a double leg, a
I
single
think you're
leg.
talking about the Stefan Bonner fight.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. He displayed such amazing wrestling, and then blending it with spinning back elbows
Oh
and
yeah,
submissions, guillotines, and just
yeah.
it's just crazy. The Dars, he was able to blend,
No,
and
but that is my question. When it comes to, okay, what you say is very makes a lot of sense, because he's a special athlete who has been in the top of the heap, like the JUCO and all those stuff, and so he could really adapt to the MMA game and all those stuff. But when it comes to specialists and beating them in their own game, doesn't that defy logic? Because all those years of training, if I beat you in jiu-jitsu, because he beat Machida in jiu-jitsu, he beat Vitor Belfort in jiu-jitsu. The thing is, Vitor Belfort got a picture perfect armbar, and
yeah,
he came out of that
I
and
percent their
submitted him
double
with
too.
Americana. And he did the same with Lyoto Machida. He just got him with a modified guillotine. And Machida should have been able to like defend it using his black belt level skills. And same with Ryan Bader. He got a weird ass guillotine that many people don't even know what kind of a submission is that, because it's like a power
Yeah,
guillotine, and
yeah.
in a certain angle it looks like something else. But how is that possible? So where does all these years of training go for the specialists?
What do you mean by years? Oh, you're talking about for his opponents?
For his opponents, like yeah, Lyoto Machida and Vitor Belfort. He's beating them in jiu-jitsu. He was a white belt beating all these black belts just like that.
Yeah, but he's not a white belt.
Hmm.
I mean, he's a white belt, maybe like he
In
doesn't have a
jiu-jitsu,
rank in
right?
jiu-jitsu, but
Hmm.
yeah, but in the same way, how does he kickbox with a world champion kickboxer? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that in sparring, he probably out kickboxed some high level
Yeah,
kickboxers.
yeah.
It just because he's not on their level. But again, we're picking arguably, again, I'm not one of the guys that say this, but arguably, but in a lot of people's book, pound for pound greatest MMA fighter of all time. There's a reason why he's on that list. He's that guy that was able to adapt to so much. I mean, like, forget about all the shit he does outside of the
Yeah,
cage
yeah.
that is
I'm not talking about that. Yeah,
stupid,
yeah.
but he was able to adapt. I mean, like, so the explanation is pretty simple. He's fucking good, and he's amazing, and he had coaches that showed him technique. He learned a guillotine. He used it in the fight. And
Hmm.
if you use good technique and you blend it well, it can work.
Hmm.
It's really shows that it's false to believe that you need to have 10 years of training. You
Hmm.
know, it really, if we could download into our brains like the Matrix,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
we could theoretically know kung fu
Hmm.
like Neo
Hmm.
from the Matrix.
Hmm.
We could, if we could somehow get that, right?
The
Well, guess
knowledge.
what? Some people learn faster than others.
Yeah.
I've had a student before, I've had multiple students, but one in particular I'm thinking of that in 3 months' time, he was already better than every blue belt I ever taught. In 6 months'
Wow.
time,
Wow.
he was beating purple belts. In 1 year time, he had submitted brown belts in competitions. And he did, and he was like 17 years old, and he was beating adult brown belts that were outweighing him by 20 pounds.
Wow.
So, you know, it's hard to explain, but you know what I say? I go, you know what? The guy had a good coach, and he was an incredible athlete that just did what I told him. That's all it is. He just did the technique. Most people take a lot longer to learn arm bars, leg locks, chokes, defenses, positions, takedowns, and he was able to learn it really, really quick. There's people out there like that. And you know what? They're gifted. What can I say? And it's kind of sad because there's fighters, and I felt this way before. There's fighters that are really good. They've been training for 15 years, and then there's young kids that will come out of nowhere. They'll be like 22 years old, almost in jiu-jitsu. It's like the Gordon Ryans and the Gary Tonans.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, these guys haven't even been doing grappling that long. And now you got guys like Danner giving them the skills, the best stuff, and they're taking it and utilizing it like that.
Yeah.
And now you don't need 10 years.
Yeah.
You just need a good coach and a whole lot of hard, obviously twice a day, 3 times a day training sessions, and dedicate a lot of time into it. And then if you're gifted, Nicky Ryan, you got teenagers that are just like wrecking.
Yeah.
So
and these guys follow me. Oh my god, nobody can pass his fucking guard.
No, it's too flexible and he's too skilled.
Yeah.
Good luck. You just better bring a knife or a gun. So
yeah.
Don't get on the ground with that guy.
Yeah, don't get on the ground. That's a good advice.
Yeah.
As a coach, as an MMA coach, yeah.
Or hey, if you're fighting him in MMA, the Meows don't have the best wrestling, but you know what? I've seen them take people down. Like they're good, they're decent.
But I don't think they would fare well in MMA because their style of jiu-jitsu, they'll get easily hit.
Right, but don't think that they're like no joke. Like I'm gonna talk some shit a little bit. Here, look.
Yeah.
Eddie Bravo can't take many people down.
He can't. That's why
Right. Eddie Bravo is a perfect example of an animal that has evolved where he's amazing on the ground, like with submission skills, but can't take you down at all. But Meow, although he is they're guard pullers, they can do takedowns. I'm not saying they're good at them, but they can do takedowns. Like if the Meows and Eddie Bravo, I know they're different age and now Eddie's older, but even if you take their prime and you said, go at it, I want to see who can get a takedown, Meow's going to win 10 out of 10 takedowns against Eddie Bravo. That's all I'm saying. And I know that may not mean much because it's Eddie Bravo, but even Meow has takedowns. I see it in the skills when you see him try to sweep people and he has to come up on single legs. And when you watch this last Abu Dhabi 2019, they have some takedowns. They're not bad. So I'm not saying they're going to win a Division I national title in wrestling, but they're not bad.
They're not bad. They know at least something about the takedowns. They're not just completely people who sit and wait for people to Yeah.
And then I would say the same thing about Craig Jones or dude, these guys know takedowns. People talk shit, they armchair quarterback it, but they don't understand. These guys are working on it. And they're good. Pat Downey may beat up on Gordon Ryan in a wrestling match. But Gordon Ryan's pretty damn good with his takedowns. So.
No, but still, given the knowledge of jiu-jitsu that this guy Pat Downey has, he really did well against Gordon Ryan. He went with him like for 20 minutes and he just gave up because of exhaustion. Gordon Ryan couldn't tap him out with any legit submission.
I'm sorry. I know this is, some people mentioned to me that I shouldn't have commented on that match without seeing the whole match. I only saw clips. I don't think Gordon was trying to submit him. I don't think Gordon was trying to submit him. So
what do you mean?
He wasn't trying to submit him. Gordon, he had a strategy. You know what his strategy was? Wear his ass out and make him give up.
Oh, okay.
Make him look stupid. He wanted to drown him.
Yeah.
He also knew that if he has to do a wrestling match with him, and if he's going to stand, might as well wear him out in jiu-jitsu, and maybe I'll have a chance, even though he still stood no chance.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rest period they gave them in between.
I don't know either.
I don't know what that rest period was. Either way, it had no effect. So on the fatigued Pat Downey, because
Yeah.
which is what I would expect anyway.
Uh-huh.
But when you watch, Pat Downey was wide open for submissions. Gordon never tried to submit
Yes.
him, in
Yes.
my opinion. But I did not see the whole 20 minutes.
Hmm.
Tell me your opinion, Varun. Did he try to get submissions?
Um, he wasn't, but I couldn't tell whether that was due to like the strategy or whether he was not able to do it at all. I mean, like for me, sometimes when I watch fights, even when I watch like Hicks and Gracie go with all these other guys, it looks like these guys are just like pretending or acting like they are, like getting submitted by Hicks and Gracie. But sometimes it is the very high level technique that you cannot see that is happening in the highest level. So I thought it was one of those things because I couldn't exactly know what their
Well,
intentions and like
okay,
motives
I'll
were.
just tell you with my eyes,
Hmm.
the clips I saw,
Hmm.
Gordon wasn't trying to submit him
Wasn't
at
trying to say.
all.
Okay.
At all.
Hmm.
He had his back
Hmm.
and he was just riding him.
Hmm.
He wasn't trying to finish him.
Hmm.
He was putting one arm around his neck. He
Hmm.
wasn't trying to choke him.
Hmm.
He was just riding him, trying to wear him out and trying to make him feel demoralized.
That is how
And
it looked. As you said, that is how it looked. But I couldn't tell because like it
I
looked
think it's a
like.
smart strategy. I personally, I thought it was a smart strategy. Just try to bring him, make him fight for as long as you can, and then
Just
at the
manage
very
him
end, wear him out, and then maybe he'll be so tired
that he
that
can do
he
proper
can't
wrestling.
wrestle.
Yeah,
But you know,
that didn't work either.
yeah, but whatever. And I'm sure they had rules in that match where he wasn't going to heel hook him. There's no way that Pat Downey.
Um,
If imagine if Gordon Ryan wanted to finish him in under a minute,
Boom. Mm.
he could have just pulled guard, went to a
He'll
leg
hook.
lock, and finished him.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way Pat Downey could have stopped it.
Mm.
Much of that match that I saw, at least in the clips, Gordon had control of him. He wasn't trying to finish. But
Mm.
anyway, that's all I gotta say. I don't.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong. I'll admit
that
because I didn't
that
watch the
kid
whole
is a
match.
genius. And considering the fact that he's younger to me, I feel like I mean I don't want to say that word like it's a shame like being elder to him and not even like doing like 0.001% of what he has achieved and but still I'm just getting there. I'm just taking my own time and trying to like slowly because like I'm not as I mean I'm not I mean my coaches are great but they are not John Danaher's and I'm not Gordon Ryan and I mean a lot of factors
You're
matter.
also not
I'm
Gordon Ryan
small.
size.
Yes, yes, but at least I could do well for my size, right? So but
Yeah,
yeah, I'm doing good but I need to like get to this blue belt brown belt because I chose not to do gi. They don't give me belts so it's very hard for me to determine where I am because like last week I submitted a purple belt thrice in a 5-minute round
yeah,
but I don't think I can do the same with all purple belts. So it's sometimes
right.
it's very confusing. Sometimes when a new wrestler comes and he's like I went against a NCAA wrestler, and I could just barely retain guard, and he was like smashing me. I was like, dude, this
Yeah,
guy is like a white belt, and I've been doing this for a while, and it's I was so depressed. So it's very hard for me to
yeah,
evaluate where I stand. So I'm like I'm just going to do my best and not think too much because that's messing my mind up and there's
yeah.
not much that I can control so I'm not wasting my energy on things that I have no
Don't,
control upon.
yeah. Don't worry about all that. I mean,
Yeah,
I from the videos I saw, you look like you're at minimum you're a blue belt. So, you know,
that was 2 years ago. I can send you some new. I think I'm like
yeah.
100
You
times
look like
better than that
you're
crappy
at least
video.
a blue belt. You're at
Yeah.
minimum a blue belt. You could
Okay.
be a purple belt. I don't know, but uh,
Oh, thanks.
from what you sent me. But we have
You saw the slow mo.
I did. I I think I need to watch it again.
Yeah, yeah, please.
It was honestly it was so slow that it was
It
making
was
me fall asleep.
accidentally he shot it in the slow mo. I did not make it
Yeah.
slow mo, and it was accidentally shot in slow mo mode. So that's what
I
I
actually
have. Hmm.
I actually would rather I don't want to see slow mo personally. I'd
Hmm.
rather see regular time because then I can see actual reactions. It's a
Reaction.
lot easier when you're watching grappling in slow motion.
Hmm.
It's very hard to see, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
When it's in real
Yes.
time, then I can
I
actually
wish I
see the
had the real time speed, but it was accidentally shot
yeah.
in slow mo. So
That's
maybe I
okay.
could speed it up and like maybe is there an option to like speed it up? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
So okay, so when it comes to blue belt, do you still believe in the definition of heliocracy? Yeah, because heliocracy said if a guy is a blue belt, he has to beat any guy of any size that is unskilled. That is the definition of blue belt that
Yeah,
heliocracy came.
that's kind of like what I said the other day. I don't know if you saw my that live. You were probably uh you know, I don't remember the title of the live. It was one of the last ones I did where I said
Okay.
what can a white belt do or what can a blue belt do or
Oh,
I
yes,
don't
yes, yes.
remember the title.
How I mean if a white belt smashes you, then you have a problem and those kind of things. Like you said like
Yeah,
the crux of the thing was like you should be able to smash a white belt no matter what.
right. And when I said white belt, what I mean is kind of
Absolute
like what you were saying.
fresh. Mm.
That yeah, the guy comes in, he doesn't know much. I know that they're not all created equal. We actually have one at my gym right now. So I had a guy come in about 3 weeks ago, 3 to 4 weeks ago. Okay, he's taken 7 classes. Okay, this guy is an athlete. He's strong. He's I don't know. Oh man, one of the last videos I did was an inside trip. Do you know this? I
Uh,
had
I skip. I mean, I did not watch your like last 4 or 5 videos. I'm just gonna binge watch
okay.
it. But yeah.
So I have a video inside trip. Okay, arm
Mm.
drag to inside trip.
Okay.
In that video, there are 3 guys training. One of those guys is that guy, and he's been training like 6, 7 classes. And if anybody who watches that, I know that it's just drilling of a technique. That guy is the dangerous white belt that nobody wants to fight. Like, because there's some blue belts that will get
Smash.
flustered. They cannot deal with him. He's been
Mm.
training now 6, 7 classes, and he will stop a blue belt from finishing him
Wow.
because he is so strong and he is
How big
learning
is he?
so fast. He's like 170 pounds, 175. And, I
That
have
is a good
another
size.
blue belt. I have a blue belt that's his size, and my blue belt already is struggling with him.
Okay.
And he's struggling with him, right? And so, what am I telling my blue belt? I'm like, hey, you better get your shit together.
Or you're
I
gonna
don't
be
want to see that.
demoted to white belt.
Yeah, he's not going to get demoted, but it's a motivation. But this guy is the cream of the crop. He's one of those guys that people cry about. They go, "Oh
Mm.
my God, this guy came in and he smashed me, and he doesn't know anything."
Mm.
And he's that guy. It's hard to explain. The guy learns quick. He's strong as hell. He's gritty. He doesn't like to tap, and he will fight out of stuff quick. So, but I still think, yes, I do believe that within reason. I'm not saying a person like yourself who weighs 125 pounds, fresh blue belt, is going to defeat a 250 pound NFL linebacker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
walks in with no jujitsu skill.
It's physics.
There's physics at some point. But for all intents and purposes, yes, I agree. A blue belt, you should take that average guy who walks in.
Hmm.
I don't care if he's a 200-pound guy. Now, if you give me an athlete, like I said, an NFL player, that's different. The guys, that's like taking a John Jones. You know, it's not. That's not what I'm talking about.
We're not
So
talking about Shaquille O'Neal, that guy.
Shaquille O'Neal,
Shaquille
exactly.
O'Neal.
Yeah, no, that he doesn't count.
Did you see
Because
the grappling match between him and this UFC veteran? I forgot his name.
I don't think I.
Forrest Griffin. He just ragdolled him. He couldn't do anything with Shaquille.
Yeah,
And he's a
and
light heavyweight, Forrest
yeah,
Griffin.
but Shaquille's been training for a while, hasn't he?
But still, he's not like UFC level. Maybe
No,
not.
but come on, Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, no,
that's what
no.
I'm saying. Like that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
right.
coach, when it comes to levels, of jiu-jitsu, does the levels differ from time to time? So what I mean is like a blue belt in the year 2005, is he the same blue belt level into 2018 or 2020? Because Keenan Cornelius said, like Hickson Gracie is a purple belt in today's jiu-jitsu. So how do you, what's your take on that? And was he like trying to like trash talk or something, or was he unbiased? Like was he giving like a clear picture of what he was thinking about?
What Keenan was trying to say, okay? What Keenan was trying to say was that if you take Hickson Gracie of 1995,
Yes,
let's say,
the prime.
okay, you take him in his prime, and if you put a gi on him, and if he fights at the IBJJF World Championships under IBJJF rules, he's saying that it's possible that he could lose a match to the IBJJF Purple Belt World Champion. Does that make sense? That he
Maybe
could
by
lose
points. By
by
points.
points. Yeah, by points. He wouldn't lose by submission.
Submission.
I don't think. No, 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 no. I'll take that back.
Mm.
If he gets his back taken, he could lose. But you know,
Do you think so?
anybody could lose. Yeah, anybody could. Look, in the gi, if you give the back in the gi with a world champion, beware. You're
But
gonna get tapped.
would he give his back? Like that's the question, right? Like
That could happen. This is what Keenan's trying to say. The Hickson Gracie of 1995 would not have much understanding of Wormguard, the Berimbolo, and
oh,
all of the dude. Trust me, he is telling the truth.
yeah.
You I am not gonna say that Hickson would lose for sure. That's not what I'm saying. In a street fight, Hickson would kick the shit out of all of them
Yeah.
in a street fight.
Mm.
But it's it's a different jujitsu. It's evolved. And under the rules of the sport,
Mm. Hmm.
yes, the guys at the highest level now would pull guard against Hickson,
Hmm.
and that the Hickson of 1995 would not understand. He just would not
Hmm. Hmm.
understand
It's
the
extremely
type.
like he'll be extremely clueless of
Yes,
what's going
it's
on.
you got to understand that like when they use the way they use the gi, the way they play De La Hiva guard, and they tie you up, it he would get confused, and he would. It is possible he could get his back taken. It's very possible.
One question.
Yeah,
Hey, Kron Gracie is the same type of fighter that Hickson Gracie is. And he's not even, like people say he's not even 10% of what Hickson was in his prime. But
that's bullshit. But
really?
go ahead.
No, Kron
ten
himself said,
percent. Now 10%. Kron's not 10%.
okay.
So now Hickson is 10 times what. It's
Yeah,
such
okay, yeah,
bullshit.
10. Mhm. No,
It's
no,
not
because
10
Kron
times
himself
Kron.
said, because like when he was in his prime and Hickson was like having a lot of back issues, I don't know if you have watched that Joe Rogan's interview with Kron Gracie. Kron said, I told my dad, you're like completely burnt out now. So just give me 3 minutes and we will go as hard as we can. And after 3 minutes, like you're in bad shape and that shouldn't be an issue. So the first 3 minutes count. And Hickson Gracie, and this was when Kron was in his prime, and when he was like fighting this like Gracie Baha guys in IBJJF competitions, and Hickson was like 56, and he was having all this herniated discs and all this stuff, and it was like Hickson got him in like a minute and a half, and Kron did not have an answer, and Kron was like, I could do nothing with my dad. He is a mother, you know.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So when it comes to Hickson, like that's why I keep asking you the same Hickson bullshit questions again, like even in your lives, because I did a lot of experimentation personally with
I say
Hickson's.
put him. I know that we can't do it.
Yeah.
I say put Hickson in a live match, and
Mm-hmm.
then we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see a live match, not some behind closed doors with
Mm-hmm.
my son who respects me. And it's a bullshit experiment, and I won't trust it. Enrolling in a room is not the same thing as fighting, and it's not the same thing as in a tournament. when the
But
thing
doesn't
is,
happen every time with everybody. Demian Maya, Paulo Filo, everybody said they did not say like it was a struggle or something. We got killed. Fabio
no,
Jujel, we got killed. Janji Ribeiro, I got killed. Solo Ribeiro, no chance. You should watch the Helson Gracie documentary last 10
I've
minutes.
heard it. I've heard it. I've
Mm-hmm.
heard all the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Show me video, because what I see is Hickson struggling in MMA fights in Japan. So
Yeah,
I see him
you're right.
struggling with guys that don't know how to fight.
Yeah.
So I think he looks amazing. It's not like, I'm not saying that he's not good at all, and I'm saying he's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
but just don't give him God status.
I
He
didn't
didn't.
give him those guys.
No, no,
That's
no.
why. Yeah.
These people are,
Mm.
and I think, you know,
But don't you think it's a pride for people to say, "Oh no, he struggled with me," or "I beat him"? Everybody says, "No, no, no."
fair,
That is
fair,
what
but
is
you know what?
confusing me. Like, what is humanly
I
possible?
get
Like,
it. I get it, but you know, this tends to happen in the martial arts a lot. Again, I say put him in a match. Let's see it. None of it's
mm,
on video. I don't trust it. None of it's on video. I don't trust it. And you know, again, the story of Hegan was beating Hickson in a match.
no, but
Oh,
because he slammed
live
him.
now,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
huh?
yeah. He
Now,
slammed him
granted,
initially, and he was like kind of getting his wits back. And once he got his, thing back, he was killing Hegan, and like Hegan got choked. And he fought Hegan twice. I think Hegan has a record of like 365 wins, 2 losses, and the 2 losses came from Hickson. That's how good Hickson is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I don't buy it. I'm not buying it. I want to say,
I mean,
show me
logically, it
on
doesn't
video.
make sense for me too, because like he's a human being, right? Like he should be
Yeah,
at least struggling with all these top level guys. But I don't think
he would.
I don't know what is the
He
reason
would
for all
struggle.
these guys to like lie.
I guarantee you he would struggle. I don't. It's again. There's some things that happen. Again, especially when you put these people up on the pedestal.
Hmm.
And all I'm saying is there could be a mind fuck that goes on in their heads. Again,
Oh, six and
Marcelo. There's a role of Marcelo and Fabio
Fabio
Jurgel,
Jurgel. Fabio
and
was
Fabio Jurgel submits Marcelo
Marcelo.
Garcia.
Yeah.
He is his instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Fabio was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, Fabio would say, Hickson's better than me, right? They
He's
all give
1,000 times better than me. That's what he
right, right. That's what they say.
mm.
But if Marcelo Garcia had a match with Fabio Jurgel, and you go with 2005-ish Fabio or Marcelo Garcia, he would beat Fabio Jurgel.
Hmm.
He would beat him.
Hmm.
It's a different. It's different, dude. I have students I can submit.
Hmm.
I have students I can submit in the room over and over even.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not want to fight them in a match,
Okay.
because in a real life match, I'm too old. But in training, sometimes there's something here that happens. That's my explanation. But
Mm-hmm.
again, the only way to do it is say, here's a fight or a match live. I want to see it go. And I do think Hickson was phenomenal. Obviously phenomenal.
Because
But
I had the same question to Firas Zahabi.
why didn't he just submit Mark Schultz? Why
He submitted him twice.
no? Why didn't he
But
just submit him?
okay.
Why didn't he just submit him?
Hmm.
Because he's human.
He's human. Yeah.
And if Mark Schultz understood jiu-jitsu,
No way.
he probably wouldn't have submitted him. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because I
So,
asked the same question to Firas Zahabi, Coach Firas
mhm.
Zahabi, and he said, like, Varun, listen to me. There was I'm not gonna say anything because
What does he think?
huh?
Yeah, I want to know what Faraz thinks.
He thinks Hickson would beat Marcelo. So I asked him like the question, and
In a
he gave
fight or in a jiu-jitsu match?
in jiu-jitsu. I was asking the question I asked was in a jiu-jitsu match. In a fight, everybody knows Hickson would beat Marcelo in a real fight, MMA
Yeah.
fight, because Marcelo's MMA jiu-jitsu was
Yeah, it
Good.
wasn't
It wasn't
wasn't
good. He got
for
like
that. Yeah.
destroyed. So I was talking about jiu-jitsu, and he was explaining it in terms of jiu-jitsu, and what he said was, well, I'm not going to say, like, because it would be like, sounding like I'm trying to be biased or something, but I'll just tell you an example of what happened. Like, this guy Eric Paulson, like, went to a get together of the Gracies. Like, the Gracies would like get together every 2 years, once in every 2 years or something like that, to exchange techniques and to
Yeah.
update techniques or something like that. And he told in a magazine, apparently, that I'm not going to say what happened in the room because it is personal and it's a family secret. I'm not going to say what exactly happened, but nobody even came close to getting a good position on Hickson.
Yeah.
Everybody got, like, everybody looked like babies, like
I'm
newborn
fine with
babies on
that.
Hickson.
Yeah, no, I've heard that already, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody wants to take a 1995 Jiu-Jitsu Hickson Gracie
Mm-hmm.
and then compare his Jiu-Jitsu level
Mm-hmm.
to today's level, it's ridiculous.
Mm.
It's ridiculous. Gordon Ryan would run right through him. I mean, that's an easy statement.
You mean prime versus prime?
Prime versus prime. He would run right through Hickson, run through him like butter. People don't understand. Again, I know this is controversial to all the Gracie, the people who train under the Gracies and kind of have that worship, which I have as well to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I just told you earlier, they
Hmm.
were the best.
Hmm.
But come on, it's evolved, it's changed. And,
Hmm.
it's there's in a grappling match, the best guys of today
Hmm.
would run right through 1995 Hickson. You cannot compare. It's like a flip phone with an iPhone. It just doesn't. It's not the same thing. It's not
Hmm.
even. Now, am I saying he's going to get tapped in a minute? No, but I guarantee you, all you got to do is just say, "Hey, let's go. No time limit, submission only," or and if you do a points match, he's definitely going to lose. If you run a points match with Dixon, he's going to lose for sure.
Yeah, sure. No, no, I'm not talking about points match. I'm talking
Yeah.
about
If
submission
you want
only.
to do submission only,
No time
that's
limit.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no time limit submission only. He's going to lose. He's going to get his back taken. He's going to get his face crushed.
Hmm.
He'll defend the choke, and Gordon Ryan will put his arm across his face. He'll have a body triangle. Hickson won't be able to escape the body triangle, and he'll get his face crushed. It's as simple as that. I'll tell you what. A Craig Jones would pull guard against Hickson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he would get Hickson in an entanglement in the legs, and he would heel hook and break Hickson's legs. It wouldn't even take that long because
Yeah.
Hickson wouldn't have the understanding of the leg
Understanding.
lock.
Hmm.
It didn't happen back then.
Hmm.
People, it's a totally different ballgame. And anybody who thinks that he's superhuman and he knew how to defend everything, it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. What Hickson was, from what with my eyes, I see good grappling. He was one of the early jiu-jitsu guys that had a unique blend of wrestling. He had wrestling, he had judo, he had fairly good judo, fairly good wrestling understanding of top position blended with the best jiu-jitsu of the time.
Hmm.
That's what he was. So
Hmm.
that put him light years ahead of all the jiu-jitsu that was going on back then. But to compare him to today's grapplers, and I'm not saying if you want to go with MMA, let him
No, no, no,
fight
not. I'm not talking about MMA.
an MMA fighter, and he's going to get
It is an
obliterated.
okay. Yeah, yeah. That is different. That is different.
Think about it. So why does everybody want to do that? Why does everybody say, "Oh yeah, he would lose to the UFC champions, but he would still submit the jiu-jitsu guys"? That makes no sense. That's bullshit. No way. That's ridiculous.
See, I'm telling you, like, I'm nowhere close to your knowledge level, but I do have some common sense as well. And
Right.
this seems to be like completely illogical, like Hickson beating today's grapplers, today's top people. But the thing is, like, why I ask you the same question again is to just break the myth, because I will send you some videos where when I see people talking, it completely, erases my, my beliefs that Hickson would lose, and completely confuses me again from the beginning. So it makes me start to think from the beginning, because, like,
Yeah.
the way these guys talk, there's a video called how good is Hickson Gracie by
Yeah.
Jack Toffer, and he says, like, it was in 2013, and it was he did not name the guy, and he said it was a current Mundial champion, and Hickson, like, he pulled butterfly guard, and Hickson just passed and caught him in an armbar, and this guy was like literally putting his head in his hands, and he was like, there is no space, I
Mhm.
couldn't do anything, and he just walked away, like, like he was about to cry. So
Yeah,
when I hear stories like that, there is something special that has to be broken, the myth, because if there is something like that, there is some
I agree.
possibility.
There's something special.
Mhm.
I agree. There's something special about Hickson.
But
100%.
it's unbelievably special. That is what I'm not able to. I mean, everybody is like super talented. You are super talented. Like, there is nobody like you in terms
No,
of
no, no, no.
teaching. But
Listen, we've all witnessed what Marcelo Garcia did,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
We've all witnessed it
Mm-hmm.
in live matches
Mm-hmm.
multiple times.
Multiple,
We've
again and
seen it
again.
in bowling.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen what
But
Marcelo.
nobody talks about Marcelo like that. Braulio Estima tapped him.
Listen,
Mm.
listen, if Marcelo Garcia's uh, matches were never on video
Mm-hmm.
and they were just
Rolling.
behind closed doors,
Mm-mm.
everyone would tell stories of Marcelo Garcia as a god.
Mm.
The only reality is, the thing about Marcelo is it really happened. Like,
Yes.
it happened for the whole world to see. So it doesn't, the big fish story doesn't do this. I mean, actually, you don't need a big fish story with Marcelo because he caught really big fish and you can see how big they were.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You see
300-pound
exactly.
big fish.
Yes. And they were only, he took all comers. He
Mm.
fought everyone.
Mm.
and
Yeah.
and and there was no, you know what I mean. With Hickson, it's always, oh, behind closed doors he went with this guy, oh, he did this guy, you know. It's not
But don't you think there should
very
have been
secret.
some guy from the enemy territory, from the Gracie Baja, that should have been like, nah, he's not that good. Nobody said I mean, Hickson had a struggle with me or something like that. That is what is
Not,
confusing me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not, I get what you're saying, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you what I think based on my knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
what I see. It does not make sense at all.
Do you personally know somebody that has rolled with Hickson or something like that? Because you're in that level of, like,
Yeah, I
contact.
mean, like, I've studied Hickson a lot. I mean, I
Mm.
watched everything I could get my hands on.
Yes, but
You
it's
know,
very less.
I watched a lot of the home video camera footage
Yes,
of Hickson back in the day, of
filled
his
with the potato.
preparation,
Hmm.
all of his preparation for his
I watched
MMA.
every video. There's nothing
Yeah,
in the internet that I haven't watched.
yeah, and
Mm.
and I studied all that. He looks really really good, and I learned a lot from watching him. But again, he's not fighting anybody that's really really good.
Yeah,
He's not.
yeah.
He's not, like, again, all of his black belts that he's submitting, those guys are nothing special compared to today's standards at
It
all.
is.
And again, I'm talking about the best guy, right?
Yeah.
Like Gracie, the best guy of his day. So I don't mean to sound like really bad about this, but with all respect to Hickson Gracie, he's the best, right, of his day. I
Mm,
give him that.
mm,
I give him that. But
mm.
but people are losing their minds when they try to say that listen, Hickson by armbar, round one,
Yeah.
against anybody, right?
Mm.
That joke came from the forums that I told you about, the underground forums.
Underground for sharedog.com or something
Yeah,
like that.
Hickson by armbar, round one.
Dixon Bayamba.
It was before Sherdog even.
Mm-hmm.
It transferred from underground over to Sherdog
Mm-hmm.
forums.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Hickson by armbar, round one.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does. That's the answer to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a fantasy thing, and they just say it because of all these stories that keep getting told,
Mm-hmm.
which none are on video.
Hmm.
I don't believe it. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. So
So
is
you
what
mean to say, like, Andre Galvo, Felipe Pina, Vinny Magalhaes, Gordon Ryan would like
I
annihilate
would
the prime Hickson Gracie
submission wise,
submission
Gordon Ryan without a doubt.
without a
He's
doubt.
a submission fighter. Remember, there are some guys that aren't the most amazing guys at submission, and they try to win by points. Andre Galvao. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
He's very good at submission, but
But he doesn't have many submissions in his
he's not a submission guy.
record. Yeah.
What I can't even believe I'm saying that.
He's
Okay,
a game guy. He's a sport
yeah,
guy.
he likes to play the points.
Yeah.
So, but submission experts like the Gordon Ryans that are finishers, they eventually they're gonna catch him. Yes. By the way, he's much too big for Hickson too. There's no way.
Yeah, he's
And
bigger. Yeah.
I chose, remember, I chose Gordon Ryan on purpose for my argument, so I could be in the best position for my argument.
Yeah.
I chose a bigger guy who's a submission expert, who is at the top of his game. It's an easy pick for me. And again, I don't know. I think I told you in 2007 when I was sitting at Abu Dhabi watching Marcelo Garcia make the finals, and I chose Robert Drysdale over Marcelo. As much as I loved Marcelo Garcia, I chose the very good bigger man because now, do I think that Drysdale is as good at jiu-jitsu as Marcelo? Hell no.
No. Yeah.
Size for size, Marcelo Garcia is one of the best I've ever seen. Cobrinha, one of the best I've ever seen.
I think defensively he's the best.
Listen, Rafa Mendes, arguably the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's a guy.
If you want to talk about guys that I think are absolutely incredible, I honestly don't know if I could find a better jiu-jitsu guy than Rafa Mendes. I don't know. Because I'll get excited about Cobrinha, and then I'll get excited about Rafa, and then I'll get excited about Marcelo Garcia, and then I'll go right back to Rafa Mendes, dude. I don't know. And there's other guys today that are probably, Gordon Ryan, whatever. I mean, Gary Tonin, I love him, but there's so many good guys.
I think when it comes to Rafa Mendes, it's a finesse.
Huh?
It's the finesse when it comes to Rafa Mendes. It's the finesse in the game.
Yeah. I don't know, and I think Rafa not competing longer, I think it robbed everyone from realizing his true potential of what he could have accomplished.
Yeah.
I don't know, but from what I see with my eyes, I am mesmerized by seeing what Rafa Mendes did. I've almost never seen him struggle. Have you?
No.
I never saw him struggle.
Flawless.
Yeah, incredible. I don't know what to say. I could believe stories of Rafa Mendes as of right now in the state that we live right now. I can't see it with Hickson, but it's only because people compare Hickson to today's guys. That's where I have the problem.
No, I absolutely understand what you say because I'm having if you believe in me, I at least have the common sense to understand what you say in terms of the martial arts world. Yeah. I'm not the guy who believes Bruce Lee can beat Brock Lesnar, those stupid guys. I'm not one of them. But the thing is, the things that I hear is not human because this guy John Jock Machado, when he was in the Joe Rogan podcast, he said like a black belt, Hickson would come to his dojo, leave about the times, the level of jiu-jitsu, whatever. If he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, he is somebody special. And Hickson would get him in an extended armbar, almost getting in the verge of getting hyperextended. And he would just escape out of it as if it was nothing. And the other guy would struggle, pull on, cling onto it like monkey. And Hickson would escape out of it like as if it was nothing. And he would let a guy get a completely sunken rear naked choke, and he would escape and submit him in the same submission he started with. Because there is a video of you telling, you ask your student to put you in a complete rear naked choke, and you're like, there's no way to get out of checkmate once you have been checkmated.
Right.
So so that is something if he can do that, if somebody can do something like that, it's
but it's not real. It's fake. I'm telling you, I'm giving you the answer, Varun. It's fake.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
put a high-level guy that knows how to do a rear naked choke,
Yeah.
and you put that guy behind Rickson Gracie, and you give that guy the full rear naked,
Yeah.
Rickson's not getting out. He's going.
Nobody's getting out.
No,
Yeah.
no, you're not getting out. Not
Yeah.
with the right guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you remember, Rickson was grappling with a lot of guys that didn't know how to wrestle. They didn't know top position. They would pull guard against him. He's a great top player, and he would wear them out and then school them. That's not hard to believe.
That's not
But
hard to believe.
That's not hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But what is hard to believe is when you have guys of today's standards, the highest level guys that understand, like Rickson understands, how to go on top, how to go on bottom, how to do all these. It doesn't make sense. And then coupled with the fact that Rickson would be unaware, it's just the reality. He would be unaware of all of the techniques we use today. And it doesn't mean that he can't defend most of them with his, again, everyone has this sense at high levels. Okay, let me explain this.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sense of grappling
Mm-hmm.
that I've developed through grappling that to a lot of people is, what's the word? Uncanny.
Uncanny, yeah.
Uncanny.
Very strange, yeah.
People don't understand how I don't know moves. I cannot know a grappling technique.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to put it on me and you're good at doing it, I can defend it without even knowing it. Okay? There's something real there. And I know that, let's just say, I have this ability. I've done it with many moves. Okay? The first time somebody tried to berimbolo me, I was able to defend it using this weird sense. Do you understand?
Extreme awareness of something, like something is coming up. Yeah.
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 And even someone like yourself has this awareness.
Yes.
With a white belt, like when a white belt does something, you have this awareness where
weird awareness. Boom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have that awareness at a fairly high level. I know I have this because it doesn't matter who I go with. I've rolled with BJ Penn before. Not once was I surprised by what BJ was doing.
How did it go?
He destroyed me, but he used strength.
Okay.
Okay, I was kind of upset that I was like, let's exchange without you using all your muscle.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted, but that's not what I got.
Mm-hmm.
What I got was a 180-pound BJ Penn just beating the shit out of a 145-pound me.
Okay.
35 pounds on me, and he just toyed with me.
Did you stand a chance?
None at all.
Okay.
But mostly because
Levels.
he just flipped me.
Mm-hmm.
And here on that subject, to bring that up, never once was I surprised. Never once. I saw everything he did, and I tried to counter everything he did. And I would have countered everything he did if he was my size.
Okay.
What I would have liked to see was a long, drawn-out match, grappling session, where he would have to wear me out, which I think he would have. He's better than me, right? I admit that. But it would have taken a very long time to wear me out. This is what happens with two high-level guys go. Do you understand? They fight, and then
Who gets tired first? Yeah.
I start defending, I defend. 10 minutes goes by, and then all of a sudden, I get tapped. That's what should have happened. But instead, he just went, I'm going to take you out of here.
Yeah.
And he just out-strengthed me. So it doesn't matter that I knew what he was doing. That I didn't like. I wanted him to reduce his strength level so that we could have a real cat and mouse, a good chess match.
Skill versus skill.
He didn't do that. So he just beat the shit out of me. It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
But what am I gonna do? But I could just laugh.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest. BJ Penn, he's amazingly technical, but he wasn't the kind of guy that was gonna let me play chess with him.
But how long was it before? What do you think? How do you think it would go against the BJ Penn of today? against you. You versus BJ Penn of today.
Size matters.
Size matters.
Size matters.
How much do you weigh? Like 155?
I'm on 152. 150,
Oh.
152.
Yeah, being small sucks.
Yeah, I would love to grapple with again, but I'm also at a point now where I don't even roll that much. But let me just say this again. I know I'm like now I'm talking about myself.
You can. Yeah.
I've rolled uh 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I rolled. Now, granted, maybe he wasn't going 100%.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't.
Oh, this
He
was
definitely
like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
no. I'm telling you a story.
Okay. Okay.
3 years ago, I rolled with a world champion black belt that weighed like 190.
You don't want to name him?
No, I don't need to.
Okay.
I submitted him. I submitted him once.
Really? Okay.
Yes,
World champion black belt.
yes. Who competed at Abu Dhabi in 2019
Wow.
and did very well
Hmm.
at Abu Dhabi. I submitted him once. I'm sure he didn't like it. And then he ended up fucking my knee up. And I had to,
Like a knee bar?
um, no, he kicked out my legs
Oh, okay.
from
In the
back
transition. Okay.
in the transition of a De La Riva guard back take.
Oh, okay.
He forcefully kicked the legs, and he was just too strong, and I resisted. And hindsight, I shouldn't have. And he fucked my knee up really bad.
Hmm.
And it happened to be the knee that I had surgery on that was better, and he basically damaged it.
Mm-hmm.
I continued to roll, and towards the end of the roll, I ended up ghosting him and put him in a DARS. And I think he was like, I'm not getting submitted twice.
Hmm.
And he went into full defense. He was much bigger than me. And I started to climb towards his back. He was in turtle. And I realized at that moment my knee was fucked up, like really bad.
Yeah.
And
You want to take a chance.
well, I ended up stopping. Now, if this guy was now this is me admitting truth, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a friendly roll. I would think that he would admit that I surprised him. He would admit if he was honest, he would admit I surprised him.
Mm.
But at the same time, I will admit he's not competing like it's a match.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a roll.
Yeah. The mindset is different.
And he's also probably looking at me going, I'm 190, you're 150. You know what I mean? I'm not going to smash you with everything I have. But he also wasn't trying to get submitted either. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes.
And I caught him, I surprised him with a technique he'd never seen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's how I caught him. Now, after that, he was like, I'm going to go harder, you know. But he also knew I was a black belt. So it's not like I caught him by surprise and he didn't know who I was. But that's all I'm going to say. But I'm admitting that there's a difference when a guy is rolling in the room. Do you understand?
Yep.
And then
The will, the mindset, everything is different. Yeah.
Like I said, BJ Penn just crushed me. This guy didn't crush me. He said, let's play jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
Let's exchange. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And when we exchanged, I caught him slipping.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started to turn it up, and I'll admit his movement was too forceful for me, and he fucked my knee up. And I should have respected him and not tried. What I did is I tried to keep my balance when he kicked, and I should not have. I underestimated his ability. The dog, the animal. The animal was way too powerful. It's like fighting with a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
Like I should have recognized this dog can fuck me up with when he kicks out.
Yeah.
I should have just went with the movement instead. Remember that spidey sense? I tried to use that to keep balance, and it was a bad idea, and it fucked my knee up. I'm getting too old. But what I'm trying to say is now going back to Hickson, I might even have lost my train of thought of where I was going because I was going to say something else. But when these guys roll with Hickson, Paulo Filos and
Damian
Damian
Maya,
Myers. And
Sean
remember,
Ginger.
they're very respectful to Rickson Gracie,
Yeah.
and they're rolling.
They're not trying to smash
It's
him.
not a competition setting.
Yeah.
It's not a so it doesn't count.
But why
And
would
so
they come out and say that I got killed? That is the thing that's confusing me. They can just leave it. Okay, it's a friendly role. It was a respectful role, and I got dominated. And I know what I could have done if it was a real match, something like that. But everybody admitted, like openly admitted, like I got killed. No way
look,
I'm beating this guy.
if I was Rickson Gracie, if I was, now I had the name Rickson Gracie. I have the same resume. This 190-pound black belt would have been looking at me going, "You're Rickson Gracie. You weigh 150 pounds. I'm going to roll with you." When I outsmarted him, do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I submit him, and we end the roll after it's over, you know what he would have said? He would have said, "Rickson Gracie caught me. He destroyed me. He was 150 pounds, and he beat me." Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, yes. I mean,
But what
this
I'm admitting,
yeah,
I'm not Rickson, but I'm Brian
Brian.
Peterson,
Yeah,
and I'm admitting
yeah,
that this black belt, had he been going competition mode,
yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been able to. I might have been able to submit him, maybe.
Maybe, but not in
Maybe
a
I could have
dominating
caught him by
fashion. Yeah,
surprise.
yeah.
But
But
the
not
odds
every
are
time.
he would have went fucking gorilla ape shit on me.
Yeah,
He
exactly,
would have tried everything in his power,
exactly.
and it would have gone very different. So that's me trying to give you an explanation
Yeah.
of why these behind closed doors roll sessions. I'm not talking about the 1990s roll sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the
2013,
modern,
2014. Yeah.
yeah, the Kron Gracie versus his dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and some of these guys, it could be chalked up to their styles. They just aren't well-rounded grapplers.
Hmm.
Like you said, they pull guard against Rickson, they pull butterfly guard, and then Rickson passes their butterfly guard, and they don't have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not, again, Rickson Gracie was absolutely amazing. Going on record, absolutely amazing for his time, way ahead of his time. Full admission by me. But to say that he would beat everyone and
Yeah.
Rickson by armbar round one, ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Because he is also human, right?
He's
I mean, like,
human.
yeah, he's
He's
human.
a human being.
Yeah.
And if you put him in a match, in a real match,
Yeah.
he's going to get tired like a real human being.
Yeah.
All that breathing,
That's
it's
what I
all
do.
going to go away
Yeah.
because he's really human. And when Gordon Ryan starts grabbing his neck, collar ties him, and starts snapping him, he's going to get tired. And when he discovers that he can't just take Gordon Ryan down, and eventually Gordon Ryan wears him out, okay, it takes 5 to 10 minutes. Rickson gets tired. Gordon Ryan's going to get a double leg. He's going to get an underhook. He's going to get a knee pick. And when he runs Rickson over with a knee pick, and now Rickson's on the bottom, now what are you going to do?
I'm
He's
happy
going to
somebody like you has a different opinion because, like, when
yeah.
everybody is going like Hickson, I'm like, at least explain me how. Like, I can't understand. It's confusing me.
It's
Like,
not magic.
yeah, it's not
This is the
magic.
point. Jiu-Jitsu is not magic.
Magic. Yeah.
It just seems like magic to people who don't know how to do it.
Yes. Yes.
It's not magic. It's movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's movement. It's not magic.
Mechanics. Yeah. It's mechanics.
Yeah.
So, and what do you think about the submissions, like the ones like the Americana? Have you heard the story? Like it came from Bob
Bob
Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah, when he. So before that, like what was
I struggle to believe that, but I'm not denying that Bob Anderson had a part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not denying that, but the move itself is very ridiculous in my opinion
Mm-hmm.
to say that they had never seen the move itself
Yeah,
for Bob Anderson.
because it was
Well,
there. in Japanese jiu-jitsu, it's called a reverse udegarami, like ude something, because udegarami is
Yeah, Urigurami.
yeah, and it's something ude something else. So it was there. It was there, and
Yeah,
it's
of
surprising that the
course it
guys
was.
cannot see that.
Of course it was there. Yeah, what my theory is,
Uh-huh.
and based on, um, I'll say this. I got to get going soon, but I'm gonna keep talking shit, and someone's gonna get. I'm gonna be the. You're making me out to be the bad guy because most people don't like to offend, and I don't like to offend anyone.
Yeah, but
But
I
I
think you're
also,
trying to be truthful, and
I,
if it's
I really am. So anybody hearing this,
mm.
if anybody hears this and disagrees with me or
Don't worry, I'll
feels,
put a disclaimer when I put it in YouTube. Mhm.
yeah, if anybody's offended or whatever, I'm really trying to give my honest opinion. And if you disagree with me, we can disagree. If someone can convince me, I'm willing to change my mind. I would have to be convinced.
Mm.
I'm using the best of my ability of what I know. I said that when we started.
Yeah,
So,
you're just using your
what,
rationale to
look,
analyze stuff.
yeah, look, I've met Bob Anderson.
Mm.
Okay? And Bob Anderson is not very nice about jujitsu. Okay?
I know, I know.
There's a video of Bob Anderson talking about Holes Gracie. I'm sure you've seen it,
Yeah, yes,
telling the story.
yes,
A
yes.
lot of people have seen it. I'm just saying what I think.
But it was
That
kind of respectful, right?
it was
Very
very
respectful. Yeah,
respectful
yeah.
compared to what Bob Anderson
Who talk
really did.
behind the camera?
When the camera was not on,
Yeah.
I have witnessed Bob Anderson talk a lot of
Even
shit
my
on.
coach Jeff Funicello, if I pull guard, he says like, "Dude, don't do gay porn. I don't want to see gay porn." And everybody would laugh, but they don't want to laugh because they know I can submit them, and like everybody knows how dangerous my guard is, but they kind of want to laugh for the joke, but at the same time they know how good my jiu-jitsu is, so they're like and I hear all these giggles everywhere. And
Yeah,
Jeff is like very nice to me. He treated me like his own like kid. But the thing is, like when it comes to jiu-jitsu, he mercilessly trolls me for pulling guard. Like you want to have a
yeah,
man in between your legs, then you have to make eye contact. Then make eye contact. Okay, well,
yeah, yeah. So that's how Bob Anderson
that's
was.
their
Or-
mentality.
And now again, I think I think that Bob Anderson, again, when he was talking to wrestlers like myself, he would say one thing, but then when faced with a camera talking about the legacy of Holes Gracie, he would say something a little different.
Yeah.
Um, he tells the story about getting caught in a heel hook. Didn't you find that interesting?
Uh,
Holes Gracie doing a heel hook. Huh? Like so many people before, this is a different subject,
mm,
but talking about like, oh, the Brazilians didn't learn leg locks until Sambo and blah blah.
mm,
They knew leg locks,
mm.
okay? They knew leg locks. I'm not saying they were as good as they are nowadays.
The legend is like Holtz learned it from Sambo. He was a Sambo
That's
guy.
fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But what I'm saying is many people would say, oh, the Gracies didn't know leg locks or they didn't know this stuff.
Hmm.
That's what a lot of people would say.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they didn't get it from Sambo.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfectly okay. I'm okay with that.
Mm.
But it's when people like to say they
They
didn't
knew
know.
it, but they did not have it in their repertoire. Maybe like that.
They did have it in their repertoire. They just didn't show it on their videos.
Okay.
They showed a lot of straight footlock.
But isn't that the difference, sole difference between the luta libre guys and the Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys? Because the Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys shunned leg locks and abandoned leg locks, while the luta
Yeah,
libre guys had that as the staple technique.
all right, plenty of old footage you can see of Helio Gracie doing straight footlocks.
Hmm.
Straight footlocks have been in the old Gracie videos.
It's a staple. Uh-huh.
Plenty. They'll show the takedown, catching the kick, doing an inside trip, taking the guy down, straight footlock.
Yeah.
They knew what these moves were. They knew them. They just didn't show a lot. I think it's very difficult to see heel hooks. I'll admit that. But obviously, Holes Gracie learned heel hooks. Okay, he learned it from Sambo. I'm perfectly okay with it. Or he learned it from a Luta Libre guy. who learned it from a Sambo guy. I'm perfectly okay with it. But
And
I
another,
was just stating that how interesting that Bob Anderson tells a story that occurred in the 1980s,
yeah.
uh, 70s, 80s,
Hmm.
and it involves them rolling for a long time. And then he goes, I eventually got caught in a heel hook.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, anyway, but getting to the point, I think that the Gracies had the Americana. Bob Anderson probably showed them something that he learned
Hmm.
from his catch wrestling background, the old wrestlers,
Hmm.
and um, maybe he showed them a tweak that they liked, and maybe that's where the name came from. I accept that, but the move was not like unknown. It's kind of ridiculous to say it was
They should
unknown.
have at least seen it once before. That's what you're trying
Without
to
a doubt, without
without
a
a doubt,
doubt, it's
without
like
a
one
doubt.
of the most basic moves.
Basic moves, yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. You think? Are you telling me that
They're
Mitsuma
clueless
Eva
about the American.
didn't,
Uh-huh.
didn't know what Americana was? Come on, like that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
He taught the Gracies arm bars, triangle chokes, omoplatas, but not Americanas? Like, come on. No, that's ridiculous. Obviously, the name just got called in Americana. It's same as Kimura. You know, I don't believe that the Gracies had never seen a Kimura before.
Mm-hmm.
Udagurami, like a different,
Udegarami.
yeah.
Udegarami. Yeah.
So I don't believe that. I don't believe that they never knew what it was. It's just that he got caught in it and couldn't get out, and gets his shoulder ripped, and they name it after Kimura, and the name sticks.
Yeah.
It's a popular match, popular fight. I mean, like the Dars or the any other move, the freaking
One
Tarico Plata.
spoon. Uh-huh.
The Tarico Plata wasn't invented by the first time ever by Tariq Hopstock, but he gets the name. It's going to be forever called the Tarico Plata, but he's not the first guy to ever do it.
What about the Darce joke? The guy Joe Darcy.
Joe DRC, it's the first one that I know of, but that doesn't mean that he's the first guy to ever do it. But
What do you think
I
of
know, I guess
the
I put myself in a position here.
for the
Now
nightmare?
I gotta do some gymnastics.
In there.
When it comes to DARS, I actually do. I
Three-quarter
don't believe it's
Nelson.
the first. I don't believe that Joe DRC is the first guy to ever do it. I don't believe that.
Perfect.
I do believe that
Mm-hmm.
in the modern era, he deserves credit. He was the first one to spread it.
Successfully like establish
Yeah.
it in the
I
internet
guess you can say
platform.
now I'll go back and I guess you have to say the same thing about the Tarico Plata because
What is it?
Tariq,
Rico Plata? I have never
the
heard of that.
Tarico Plata,
Okay.
Tariq Hopstock, he's the first one to popularize it. When there was, but the problem that I have with the Tarico Plata is that there was clearly video footage of other people doing the Tarico Plata before Tariq. But that's the only problem I have. When it comes to the DARS, I can't find footage of it. If someone can find it, I want to see it. I've been asking this question for years and years and years. Where is the DARS pre the year 2000?
Hmm.
I don't think you can find it.
I think it was like a modified three-quarter Nelson. That's what they say.
Well,
Like
here's the thing. The Brazilians like to say that it's a Nogi Bravo choke.
Bravo choke. Uh-huh.
So the Bravo choke was a gi choke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the Bravo choke's a gi choke that is, it's not a Dars, but it is the Dars is the Nogi application
Version of yeah.
of the Bravo choke. They're still different. They're still different. It would be like saying that what I call the punch choke, you understand? People go, that's just a Nogi Ezekiel.
Ezekiel.
It's not.
Not. It's not.
It's not an Ezekiel choke.
Yeah.
It's actually a different choke but I'm perfectly okay with calling it the Nogi
No,
Ezekiel
basic it, yeah.
because it is the best Nogi
The
application.
closest, yeah.
It's the closest thing of a Ezekiel in the gi
The Nogi
being done
version, yeah.
in Nogi.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Nogi application.
Mm-hmm.
Much like, here, guess this. I want to know, is a rear naked choke, the RNC, the
Mm-hmm.
Mataleo,
Matalaya.
is the Mataleo,
This one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
is that just a Nogi application
No.
of a collar choke?
This one, yeah. No.
No,
No.
it's not. It's a totally different choke.
Yeah.
It can be done
From the
like a
back,
gi
yeah.
choke.
You get like a
It
geech
can
choke.
be done like one, but it is truly a totally different choke. And that's why I kind of don't like when people, what I call the punch choke.
Mm-hmm.
When I really get into it, I don't think we should call it the Nogi Ezekiel
Mm-hmm.
because it's
No, but
truly
the
a
rear
different
naked choke
choke.
is clearly named different. The nomenclature is very, because that's why they call it rear naked because there is no
Yeah,
cloth or fabric involved.
exactly.
You know.
And you know why? It's so common.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a common move.
Mm-hmm.
It gets its own name.
Yeah.
But because the punch choke
Mm-hmm.
or the Nogi Ezekiel is so mysterious, rare, not used that much, this move is not used enough.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, people just say, well, that's just a gi move done Nogi. But it's really not. It's not. Mechanically, it's totally different. It's not the same mechanics. A
Mm.
gi, an Ezekiel choke is this.
You hold the sleeve and
Yes,
yeah, you go this.
yes.
Yeah.
You're doing this
Yeah.
with your arm.
Yeah.
The punch choke is a pressure
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
It's not the
Exactly.
same mechanism.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just like this is a rear collar choke,
Mm-hmm.
and a Nogi rear naked choke is a squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
The Dars can be done like a Bravo choke.
Mm-hmm.
Often it is
Mm-hmm.
done with a pull like a gi,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people finish the Dars choke with a squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do a video on that real soon.
Please. And one more question is like, this guy Jiro Jean Libel and
Yeah,
all those catch wrestling guys, when they show a lot of submissions, they shun jiu-jitsu and they say, this is how the guillotine has to be done. They hold the arm, the wrist this way and do something like a figure four lock for the guillotine. And all those, I mean, like with all due respect to people like Jean Libel, the stuff that they show, maybe it works on a guy that doesn't know stuff, or
yeah.
maybe like a Ken Shamrock kind of era guy or something like that. But I don't think it is in par with like high level jiu-jitsu. Like, what do you think about that? Like, what would you how do you rate or
Again,
evaluate
Varun, you just
Jiro
want me
Jean?
to talk shit on everyone.
No,
I'm
no.
one of the only guys that'll do it. Um, I'm not trying to talk shit. I'm trying to give you my opinions, what
Yeah,
I think is real.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So what is
I'm
real?
sorry if I'm trying to put you in a like a political nightmare or
Yeah,
something.
I
Yeah,
really think that science is important,
science is
and I
important.
think
Yes,
we should. And I am no
admittedly.
way, I'm no way discrediting Gene LaBelle
Yeah,
or any of those guys, but
I'll put a
the
disclaimer. Don't worry.
yeah, the catch wrestlers of the world, they get hurt by it, but
Yeah.
it's not the best science. They haven't done the best science.
Yeah, but he's known
The,
to be a badass motherfucker when it comes to grappling, right? Gene Libel.
what's that?
Like Gene
Yeah,
Libel
I
is
mean,
known to be like a badass.
yeah, he's a tough dude. Shit. For his day, he was fucking amazing, I'm sure.
But I
You
think he has
know?
a very extreme like a grappling strength. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
he's
Like
very strong.
squeeze you
He
through your
cranked the fuck
eyeballs.
out of me. He cranked the fuck out of me 24 years ago.
He told the story. He beat somebody in the ear.
That was actually not that long ago. That was 11 years ago.
Hmm.
But 24 years ago, I met Gene LaBelle,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he cross-faced my neck and cranked my face.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, during a demonstration of all fucking things. Anyway, but I still love the old man. You
Yeah,
know.
like he was a hero back then for his days. I think he
Yeah,
was one of the pioneers of
he's
mixed martial
very
arts.
good.
Yeah.
He's very good. Obviously, he had. Remember, he had a lot of the pieces that jiu-jitsu didn't have. So he had the takedowns. He
Was he the
had,
guy that choked out Milo, the boxer?
huh?
Was he the guy?
Yeah,
That, yeah, yeah.
Milo Savage.
Milo, yeah, Milo. Uh-huh.
Milo Savage.
Yeah.
Um, so no, Gene LaBelle was legit. He was legit for his day,
Hmm.
but he also the problem with his teaching is a lot of times
Very brutal.
it's the pro wrestling, it's the catch wrestling shit,
That's
it's
wrestling.
the pro wrestling.
Yeah.
They start throwing things that aren't real, and then they're real if you could get a guy in that position,
Yeah.
but it's for show.
Just like the
And
bulldog chokes and all those chokes that
even
bulldog,
a bulldog choke is real, but
not against a
it,
high level guy.
it's not high level, it's not combative against other skilled practitioners. So it still works.
Hmm.
Gene LaBelle would kick the shit out of 99%
Hmm.
of everyone out there, just like the Gracies would
Hmm.
back in the day. The
Hmm.
only problem is if Gene LaBelle could have fought, let's say, um, the best of that time in jiu-jitsu, I would think that he probably would get caught.
With something, yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
but even that, it's kind of hard because back then the jiu-jitsu was also primitive as well. So
Primitive. Hmm.
and remember, in a fight, it's arguable that Gene could have won because he had that takedown component that although the takedowns of the Gracies back then were better than they are now, than the jiu-jitsu guy of today that
Hmm.
fucking sits on his ass and
Hmm.
does that gay shit. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just
Crying
joking.
inside.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah,
trying
I
to I'm
understand.
trying to
I understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, he stood a chance. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that he'd lose for sure. But
Yeah.
if you want to talk about submission skills, yeah, he wouldn't be able to keep up with the jiu-jitsu guys in the submission department. In a real fight, we'd have to find out. But I would then go back and say the Gracies were more geared towards a real fight.
Real
They,
fight.
they trained they trained for that.
Hmm.
That's what they trained for.
Hmm.
I don't think Gene LaBelle trained for that as much as he trained for judo. So, but yeah, go
But
ahead.
but
I'm gonna have to
sometimes,
get going soon,
huh?
but I gotta get going soon. I've got some other things I gotta do,
Yeah.
but
So
go ahead.
I'll just ask you this one last question. Um, I'm just going through the best questions that I have handpicked. Uh, okay. What is the difference between Nogi BJJ and Sambo and Nogi BJJ and Sambo
Uh,
on the mat on the mat? I mean, stand up, it might be the takedowns and all the stuff.
well, sambo in the sport they don't do chokes, so chokes are off limits, um, in the sport. So in sambo, the throw is heavily weighted. So that's why you see sambo guys. They're like wrestlers and judo guys. They look like hybrid judo wrestlers.
Hmm.
Um, it's one reason why you see Khabib. Uh, Khabib will have in one moment he'll shoot a double leg and have great double legs and single legs, and then the next moment he'll be in the clinch and he will sotogari someone.
Hmm.
A typical wrestler won't know what a sotogari is.
Hmm.
Most wrestlers don't know.
It's a judo move.
I would, even high
Hmm.
level wrestlers, they know what the move is.
Hmm.
Like they know that they can be tripped like that, but they don't know the finer details of pulling off a sotogari
Hmm.
or even
See,
Uchimata.
Harai Goshi, this guy, um,
Right.
Daryl
Yeah.
Horcher.
All of it, it kind of blends together. It's kind of Osotogari and Haraigoshi will commonly change between the
Change
two.
between them.
But and Uchimata, that's one thing that the Sambo guys have better than wrestlers because they have the judo influence.
Yeah.
Um,
Hip
and
toss.
it's a part of Sambo guys might even just say, no, that's Sambo, right? Like that's just a part of their game.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, so Sambo brings that to the table. when Nogi BJJ doesn't bring the takedowns to the
Mm-hmm.
same level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sambo sport doesn't grapple on the ground very long.
Mm-hmm.
They get stood up just like judo and wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
When I say wrestling, I mean freestyle and Greco.
Mm-hmm.
So they get stood up, so their ground game is not going to nearly be as fine tuned as Nogi BJJ, but they should, on average, have stronger takedowns. Does that make sense? The
Absolutely.
the typical Nogi BJJ specialist um, still pulls guard because of the sport.
Hmm.
The sport of Nogi BJJ is still a sport of guard pullers.
Hmm. Hmm.
So Jeff Funicello would not like them.
Yeah.
He would
Yeah.
prefer Sambo guys.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Um,
he's more into sambo, pancreation, and all this stuff.
right.
He hates jiu-jitsu. Like maybe he has a personal vendetta against somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
get it.
yeah.
I get it. I came from wrestling like he did.
Yeah.
But the difference with me is I only wrestled for 3 years. And even during those 3 years, I was exposed to Hickson Gracie Jiu Jitsu during that time.
Hmm.
So we had Hickson Gracie students come to our wrestling room, even when I had been wrestling 1 year.
Can you name them?
So, no, there's no way I don't know their names.
Oh, okay.
They were under the lineage of Chris Saunders.
Chris Saunders. Okay. Okay.
Chris Saunders,
Dirty Dozen.
Chris Saunders, one of the Dirty Dozen. Chris Saunders can be seen in one of your old videos of Hickson prepping
Yes. Yes.
for his MMA fights, and
Yeah.
he's beating up on Chris Saunders.
Yeah. Where he's all sweaty in a multicolored
It's a
shorts,
very old video.
filmed with a
Hickson's
potato. Yeah.
he's got like elbow pads and shit like that, and knee
Yeah.
pads,
Yeah.
and Hickson
And
likes
he
to go
goes
for it.
against Hoyler. He rolls
He's
against
doing, yeah, he's doing a lot of crucifixes.
Hoyler.
Hickson was working the crucifix.
I think Chris Saunders said, like, it's his mind that makes him so great, like, something like that. And he was
Yeah,
prepping for the Japan Ballet Tour or something like that.
yeah. So these guys were most likely under Chris Saunders. This is my guess. Most likely trained under Chris Saunders and Hickson in at Pico in
Pico.
LA.
Yes, LA. Yeah.
So um so
Sambo
they
versus.
would just come in our wrestling room. So I was already exposed to jiu-jitsu. I watched the UFC. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was a teenager that watched the UFC, and Jeff Funicello, I would bet money, spent more time in wrestling, getting indoctrinated in wrestling.
He was an Olympic alternate, something like that.
Right. Like, yeah, reaching a pretty high level in wrestling and then being indoctrinated by wrestling. And then maybe he saw the UFC, but he wasn't a fan of the UFC.
He said that he got signed to fight Half Gracie in Pride, and he.
Yeah. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
he wasn't a fan. Like,
Fan of.
I want to learn this.
Yeah.
I
He
want to learn.
study everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did not give a
So
shit about that.
I watched the Gracies when I watched Hoist win the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the first two fights. I was watching him thinking to myself, he's like me. He's a wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
but he does submission holds.
Yeah.
That's what I thought jiu-jitsu was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I said, jiu-jitsu is wrestling
Plus.
with submissions.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think that he was something different. I also saw a Hoist Gracie that did double leg takedowns,
Mm-hmm.
who only got taken down by guys like Chemo or Dan Severn. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Maybe Keith Hackney.
Keith Hackney and this guy Art Jimerson, the guy who came with just one glove. He was the guy that Hoist double-legged and took him down.
Yeah.
He just mounted him and he just gave up.
Right, but even Hoist beat Remco Pardol, and he was a big judo guy.
Big judo guy.
Went to his back,
Went to his
and
back.
when Remco tried to do his throw that he likes to do,
He just
It didn't work, and Hoist took his back.
back. Yeah.
So, like I still viewed Hoist as a wrestler. He wasn't a guard puller.
Hmm. He wasn't.
He
He
was
wasn't.
he wasn't a guard puller.
Yeah.
And so but jiu-jitsu got the guard pulling reputation not long after Hoist. And wrestlers were better at takedowns. What can you say?
Yeah.
I get it. I just looked at it like I can learn their submissions
Yeah.
and I'll combine it with my wrestling.
Matt Hughes versus Horace Gracie, same thing.
Is this really like anything to be debated? Like I don't even understand why this is a debate nowadays with wrestlers. Are you really that stupid
Yeah.
that you would say that the
Completely.
jiu-jitsu guys are terrible? Like no, just look at it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's a
Exactly.
submission art,
Exactly. Yeah.
and they work on the finishing skills
I mean,
that you don't
it's
have.
foolish to even compare wrestling and jiu-jitsu because they are like apples and oranges. They have different end
Yeah,
goals, right?
yeah, totally. It's a different sport. They have
So
different
yeah,
goals.
yeah.
Totally different
Like
goals.
comparing running and swimming, something like that.
Yeah, it's like yeah, exactly. You're trying to say why doesn't the swimmer you can't run as good as the runner?
Yeah.
No shit. Get in the
Exactly.
pool, you can't swim.
Exactly.
It's they're totally different.
Mm.
Yeah, they share some things, but they're totally different. And I don't know why this is like such a debate. If you go on the wrestling forums and you say, "Hey guys, what do you think about jiu-jitsu?" A lot of wrestlers are going to come on there, and it's literally it's like racism,
Yeah.
right? It's
Exactly.
like
That's the best word to put. Like they
yeah,
just talk shit without even like considering
yeah,
jiu-jitsu or knowing
yeah.
about what it is. Yeah.
Or they know nothing about it, and they just or it's like religion.
Religion.
My
Exactly.
religion is great. We're the holy one.
Yeah.
We have all the real truth.
Yeah.
It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So it's totally different,
Yeah. That
But
is their gospel. Yeah.
anyway, so yeah. So Sambo's great. I mean, Sambo's like, if you think about it, it's kind of like better than wrestling in some sense. But one of the problems with Sambo is in the sport sense is taking
Hmm.
away chokes.
Hmm.
But then people go, but now they have combat Sambo and they allow everything and all this,
Everything. Hmm.
whatever. Yeah, but now you basically just said MMA,
It's
whatever.
just the
Okay.
nomenclature. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But when you go to the sport disciplines, um, there's still a glaring weakness in Sambo. And it's matches getting stood up. Already, you just ruined your ground game. You know this. If you roll and if you don't get a submission every 15, 20 seconds,
You get stood up.
if you got stood up, you would get better at takedowns. You would get worse at submissions. It's
Yeah.
just simple as that.
Exactly. Exactly.
So now what you need is you have to have trained Sambo and then trained Jiu-Jitsu,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
When what we really should be doing is we should make a grappling sport that is the most well-rounded grappling sport.
Hmm.
And I think we can do it. I think we can do better than Sambo. I think we can do better than wrestling. I think we can do better than Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
I think the best thing we have right now
Like a
is Abu
mixed
Dhabi.
grappling art, like MGA, like MMA. Mixed
I think
grappling
the
art.
best thing we have right now is Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
It's the best. You could argue Abu Dhabi and EBI. EBI rules, in other words, okay, now I don't want to say EBI rules, but what I meant was submission only,
Submission only.
grappling.
Like Polaris,
Uh,
Metamoris.
yeah, any of those with EBI included. I know that the whole riding time, whatever, we can argue about that, but they make the best submission fighters.
Mm.
They make the best. There's no arguments. Who has the best submission skill? The guys that compete in submission only events like EBI, Polaris,
Metamoris.
whatever, all those, Kazai Pro, all that shit. Those guys are the best submission artists, bar none. Take the best Sambo guys in the world. They are not going to submit the best guys from EBI. They are
Yeah.
not. It's very simple. They're not going to. Could they win? Yeah, it's possible, but overall, they're going to lose.
I think
No.
I think there is an event called Quintet in which there's
Yeah,
team
Quintet.
Sambo and team Jiu-Jitsu and all the stuff. Have you seen
And
that?
what happened? I
I
haven't watched all of it.
I think team Jiu-Jitsu won. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense they would. But now when it comes to what makes the best MMA fighter,
Hmm.
that's a different question. I think that Sambo now, the stock goes up
Because
of
of
Sambo.
obvious killers, Habib.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to MMA, you don't need to be the grappling wizard as much.
Yeah. Because
You
now
know,
punches are involved.
yeah, punches are involved. If you know how to defend submissions, so, and I admit that. Look,
I think
I
submission grappling itself is not because like you don't have to do all the technical pass, guard pass. You can like punch, punch, pass, punch, punch, side
yeah,
control, punch, punch, mount, punch, punch, arm
yeah,
bar. You don't have to
yeah,
technically like get the arm and go for all the stuff.
yeah.
These punches would do make your job much more easier. Just like how
I
Hickson
agree.
Gracie got out of the Scorpion.
Right, exactly. So, but it's still useful to know as much
So
grappling knowledge.
yes,
That's why you have Teach Me Grappling.
yes,
Because what I'm doing is I'm trying to give you guys some very high level shit, but I'm also trying to balance our jujitsu with the wrestling, the takedowns, the leg locks, the neck cranks.
and for different goals.
Yes, a little bit of the MMA grappling. I wanna make jujitsu great again,
Yeah.
right? And I think the way it's done with the rules of guard pulling, I think we can instantly make a better grappling sport by saying that guard pulling is -1.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first step to improve the sport. I
Mm-hmm.
think guard pulling should be -1. You will immediately reduce our guard game skill slightly. It will reduce it slightly, but it will greatly improve the takedown game, which would be for the better of self-defense and MMA. So -1. Another idea, I don't know if I'll go this far, is to say if you pull guard, it's 2 points for your opponent. So whoever ends up on top,
Wow.
2 points.
But do you think that's the way it
I
should?
think it's an argument. I think it can be made.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I like -1 or 1 point for your
Mm.
opponent. I say if a guy takes you down, it's 2.
Because what you said sounds like a disqualification rule or something like that. Your opponent gets 2 points or you lose, so something
Yeah,
like that.
well, what I'm saying is like the game of chess, it's a gambit. It's like sacrificing a pawn
Mm.
for the greater position.
Mm.
So if your guard is that good,
Do
then
it. Go for it.
you go for it. You'll be down by 2 points.
Yeah.
And I'm not even I think 1 is correct right now. It's an argument over it's like the value of in chess. What sometimes the king's gambit or you sacrifice a pawn. You are sacrificing a pawn, which in the game of chess most people agree is 1 point.
Mm.
A pawn is 1 for a position that gives you possibly you can get your pieces in better position material what's the word to get your pieces materialized to mobilize your pieces to
Mm.
get a better position to have an advantage over your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that position is valued as 1. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Where it actually could be argued that a gambit is actually better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have to argue. So as better chess players play, I don't know what Magnus Carlsen would think of the King's Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he would think, no, it's not worth a pawn. It's only worth, maybe it's worth a quarter of a pawn, a half a pawn. Do you understand?
Yep. 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 Yep.
Chess players, non-chess players would probably not understand at all what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to value a position.
Mm-hmm.
So if a guy pulls guard in a no-gi grappling match,
Mm-hmm.
how much advantage is it truly? That needs to be thought out. And here's the thing: it's different for every guard player. There are some guys that have such a
Like
good guard.
Paul Sass, the guard pulling legend.
Yeah. So if he pulls guard, he may happily say, I'm down by 2. No problem. You're in trouble because you can't pass my guard,
Yeah.
and I am very likely to get a sweep.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is it needs to be at least 1 point
Mm-hmm.
because by valuing guard pulling as a wash
Mm-hmm.
of it being neutral, it's hurting grappling. People in jiu-jitsu spend too much time playing guard that does not transfer over to MMA. Do you understand?
Yep.
It doesn't transfer.
It's not translated to
It,
MMA games. Yeah.
it doesn't transfer enough.
Yeah.
So although it may work in no-gi grappling
Mm-hmm.
sport,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't transfer to MMA.
Yes.
So it would be better for the greater good of jiu-jitsu to make better MMA champions.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go with -1 or 1 point for the top player if someone pulls guard. We have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's the right way to go. So if a guy takes you down, he gets 2. But if you pull guard, it's only 1.
Well, it's only 1. Okay.
It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So look, if the guy's better at takedowns, you could just admit that he's taking you down. Just pull guard, and now he's only going to get 1. But if you battle takedowns and get taken down, now it's 2.
2.
I think it's a good way to
Good
get
trade.
the sport
Yeah.
in the right direction. I think it would be better for the sport. It would make it more interesting.
You
And
should
then
start your own invitational, like Brian
it would
Peterson
make
invitation.
it would make 2 jiu-jitsu guys have a strategy of let's find out who's better at takedowns.
Mm.
And then when one feels dominated,
Mm-hmm.
he would pull guard,
Mm-hmm.
or he would get taken down. But I think it would be better because too many guys just start a match and pull guard right away.
Yeah.
And then you don't even get the battle. It's not good. It's not good for grappling. It's not good for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So when you ask me no-gi grappling versus sambo and all that, I think we can make a better grappling sport by taking jiu-jitsu and just doing that. I think it would improve. They need to call stalling. I've already talked a lot about that. They don't call stalling enough. Referees don't know what stalling is
Mm-hmm.
on the feet. It's a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Abu Dhabi is ridiculous. I cannot stand watching it
Mm-hmm.
where guys stand on their feet for 10 minutes
Yeah.
and nobody's being warned. And because referees don't know what stalling is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Like Kron Gracie versus Otavio Souza.
yeah, I remember the
Lot
match.
of
I
standing.
know he ended up guillotining him.
Last
But I
3
can't-
seconds he attempted to take down and he guillotined him. Before that, like 10 minutes, it was just standing up clinch game.
Yeah,
And Hickson
And
with that crazy chicken noises. Have you heard about that?
yeah, with Hickson. Yeah, because he's stalling.
Yeah, stalling.
Yeah, see, I mean, Hickson knows what stalling is.
Yeah. But at least Kron should have gone for the takedown, right? If Hickson was so upset about
Yeah.
it.
No. Otavio was avoiding.
Avoiding, yeah.
He was avoiding tie-ups.
Mm.
And referees don't know what that is. It's sad. It's like their brains aren't trained enough
Yeah.
in takedowns to know what avoiding is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You want to see what avoiding wrestling is?
Mm-hmm.
Watch a world level or national level freestyle wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever watched it.
No. I don't follow wrestling. Yeah.
If there's no takedown, within 30 seconds, someone's getting warned.
Hmm.
Within a minute, someone's getting warned. And if they did what jiu-jitsu guys do, they would get warned in 20 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't let you get away with it at all. At all.
Mm.
The moment the referee will stop the match, he'll look at you and he'll say, hey, we've got passive. They call it passive warning.
Passive.
And they let you know right away you're not working. And if it happens again, you go in wrestling, they ended up doing this, you go on what's called a shot clock. So you now have 30 seconds. If you don't score and get after it, the other guy's going to get a point.
Mm.
And that's how internationally they solve stalling.
Hmm.
So that whole Otavio Souza, like Otavio would have went on the shot clock after a minute.
Minute. Hmm.
He would have been on a shot clock.
Hmm.
And then Kron would get a point
Point.
unless Fabio scores.
Perfect.
Do you
Perfect.
understand what that does? It
Mm.
makes guys fight.
Yes.
It
Yes.
makes them fight.
Engage to see real
Yeah,
action going on.
real action,
Mm.
which is what we want to see in the audience.
Yeah, we don't want
It
to see
is a
strategy.
sport.
Yeah.
We don't want to see it. That's stupid.
Yeah.
It's a sport. Nobody wants to watch a match in a sportive context where I want to see two athletes sitting 50-50
Yeah.
and
Oh,
hold each
that's
other.
horrible. Yeah.
It's horrible for the
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
Now, I'll admit there's probably a game to that, but then it turns into, do you want to watch the TV show Alone, where who can survive in the Arctic for 100 days? All about who can survive the longest. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Now, by the way, I love that show.
Yeah. But
But
that's a different thing. Yeah.
yeah, it's not about who can survive the
Yeah.
longest, right?
Perfect.
Like Hickson Gracie in a no time limit match where he can hold guard and not get hurt and wait
We
an
don't want to see
hour
that. Yeah.
for you to get tired
Yeah.
and then he submits you.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm getting tired. I still got some things to do,
I understand.
Varun.
I
But
understand. So,
this has
any
been a
last
really
thing
good
that you want to say before we wind this up?
no, I hope I didn't make enemies. I really
No, you did not.
I hope people understand that
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that won't say what they really think because they're afraid to hurt feelings or offend.
Yeah.
And I have basically given you the 100% truth of what's on my mind. Whether you agree with me or not, or you think I'm full of shit or not, I've given you my true thoughts. These are my true thoughts. I will say this. Remember this. We're human beings. I can have my mind changed.
Stop mystifying people.
If someone, yeah, but if someone can convince me otherwise
Yeah.
of everything I've said, if
You're
you
open.
disagree with what I've said, I'm open to have my mind changed. If someone can change it, I would love to debate them and we can go over it. If someone can provide evidence, I'm a science guy,
Yeah.
provide the evidence, and I will change my mind.
And guess
If
what though? That is the aim of this show. Like to just pick your brain and like to just know your honest opinions about things in the most scientific way possible. Like I'm not gonna interview some Gracie Baha guy. Of course he's gonna talk great about like Carlinios. He's gonna
yeah,
say Hickson is like all like hyped up,
right.
just bullshit. So I just like wanna like extremely talented, like scientific, like knowledge thirsty,
Non-biased. Yeah,
neutral
yeah.
guy.
I'm about as non-biased as you're gonna get,
Yes.
really.
Yes.
And I have a diverse background. So
Yes.
again, all the catch wrestlers, they say all they say, and they don't know that I've trained
Catch
quite a
wrestling.
bit of catch wrestling here or
Yeah,
there.
I mean, like, even the
Anyway,
Teach Me Grappling, you go to some catch wrestling studio and you train with them, right? So you're like pretty open
yeah,
to like whatever works
back in the day, I learned a lot. I've trained with Gene LaBelle.
in the world.
I've trained with Gokor.
Yeah.
I've trained with a
Go,
lot of people. So
go.
I was exposed. I was exposed to a lot of stuff. So I'm giving you what I think based on all of what I know,
Yes.
not just coming from one religion. I'm talking about I've seen all the religions.
Comparative
Yes.
religious study guy.
Yes. And I'm telling you what I think, who's got the most truth.
Yeah.
And I know when we talk on religion, that's a totally different subject. But
That's
anyway,
different.
right, that's different. But I don't mean to get on that subject. But I can have my mind changed, for sure. And another thing I know as a science-minded person, what I think and say today, I am inevitably, I must be wrong about something. I admit that. There's no way that I have everything correct.
Just like everybody. Just like everybody.
Yes.
But we need
So,
somebody on the show that talks without any filter to his heart. Like
right.
everything that comes, like, in the truest form. That's it. Like
Yeah.
you may be wrong.
And
We're all
I
human.
want my mind changed.
Yes.
So what I would love to do is I would love to talk with Faraz Zahabi.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
would love, because I think if anybody could change my mind, it's someone like him.
Yeah.
Someone that I respect greatly, who I think, like I said before on the last podcast, is probably, he's my vote for the best coach in the world,
Yeah.
bar
I mean,
none.
I mean, you should get somebody on this show. Like, I don't have pretty much a lot of contacts. Like, I'm just trying my
Yeah.
best to, like, get contacts of
Maybe
people
I'll do
like
that.
you.
You know what?
Yeah.
I've never thought about it, but I guess
Yeah.
maybe I'll try to give Faraz. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've only chatted with him once in person.
Yeah.
And I met him in New Zealand,
Yeah.
and
And,
at a
and at
UFC.
least like get somebody like that of, like a Vince Pichel or somebody or anybody, just the top guy that you have trained, whom I can uh talk to in person or something like that, so that we can, that would be a fanboy moment for me. At the same time, we can like get a lot of questions answered, and we can have a lot of
Yeah,
different opinions and all stuff, and we should
yeah,
make that happen. So
yeah. We'll try.
right.
I'm open. So thank you, Varun. I really appreciate you.
Thank you
Thanks to
so
everybody
much.
that listened to my stupid ass, and
Don't say that. Yeah.
hope I made some
No,
people happy to some degree, and I hope I didn't hurt too many people.
no, you didn't.
And I love you guys. Thank you. I
Thank you,
really do.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Bye.
Have a good night.